Wow, 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 wow. Because it was like
the other one, the one you just came up with.
What about
the Hot Pocket?
Oh yeah. Hot Pocket self-destruct. It's Metallica, baby. Oh well, you about ready to get this podcast started?
Yep. Ready to go.
Alrighty then.
I've got my MacBook open for no reason at all.
Just to be pretentious?
Just to be pretentious.
Do you need a man bun?
Man bun to be pretentious? No.
No, I'm just saying, since you're pretentious,
shouldn't you get a man hive? Have you heard of that?
A he hive.
The he hive. They got the man buns, and now you got the he hive.
Oh goodness!
I don't think that's a real thing, but I think it's one of those jokes. If you're gonna have man buns, you should also have the he hives.
What's funny is it could start ironically, and then people could start doing it.
Yeah.
Because they were like, "Oh, apparently we're supposed to do this."
My mom, when she was younger, had a beehive haircut.
Oh, really?
She did.
She kind of looked like Marge Simpson.
A little bit, yeah.
She was yellow and had a large upper lip.
Yeah, yeah.
All those people that live in Springfield, they're deformed.
It looks really bad.
It looks bad for you, I gotta say. You should not be happy about your looks in the mirror.
I have not checked, but I'm checking now if by any chance we have any emails.
Yes.
Probably not, because people don't love us.
No, they don't really particularly enjoy us. That's so sad.
Why did I got to every time? I mean, Google, I can't. It's like, do you agree to this thing, this change we made? Well, if I say no, you're not going to let me into my email.
So I better say yes.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, Google?
Just jump off a cliff.
There you go.
That's better.
Okay, so we didn't have anything on Rebels Cast, which is not surprising. We haven't started yet, really. So let's try the Inner Dorkdom.
The Inner Dorkdom. Anything?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Not a thing in the world makes me happy anymore. Hey, now I'm on your side. Now I'm over here.
That's why I had the MacBook open.
Yeah, to check that.
Check the email.
Yeah, that was very good. I'm glad you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me feel really good about our lives.
That and to play this copyrighted song.
Well, that's important. We're fired up tonight.
Oh, we're fired.
That's it. We're gone. No more us.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. What kind of go would this be?
Let's give this a 7 go.
Hello and welcome back to the Rebels Cast.
It's been a while.
It has been a while since we have talked here. I am your host.
Talked about your face.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
They just say, talk about your feelings. No one cares about your feelings.
No.
You delicate snowflake.
That's right.
I am one of your hosts on the Rebels Casts. I am... Why did I put a plural in cast? I said Rebels Casts.
Rebels Casts?
I mean, technically it is multiple episodes, so you would say this is a podcast, this is another podcast, these are podcasts.
True.
But I don't know that people do it that way. That'd be like television shows. It's like, have you watched the Walking Dead television shows?
Well, there are 2 of them.
Oh, is that okay? That didn't work. So, the Stargate? No, that doesn't work either. The
Star
MacGyver?
Trek? No.
MacGyver? No. Hawaii Five-O? No.
Knight Rider? No.
Knight Rider? No. Quantum Leap. Unfortunately, that one works.
That one doesn't
So
work.
we could say, have you watched the Quantum Leap television shows? No one would say that.
No, they wouldn't.
They would.
Maybe the British would.
They might. Maybe Jamie and Paul can tell us.
Yeah.
Do y'all do that over there?
I don't know.
Or is it
They do the what do they call it? They do
the telly?
No, not the telly.
They get on the lift? They go to the loo?
No, but when they have where we call television show seasons, they call them series.
That's right. It's like it's series 1 and series 2. It's like, what? Series 1 was on last year and series 2 was on this year. Well, what's different? Well, it's, nothing.
Because the way we look at that would be
season.
You would have Star Trek the original series,
right,
and Star Trek the Next Generation the series.
Those are two series.
Those are two series.
Right.
Series 1 and series 2.
Right, because otherwise, what do you call series 1 and series 2 if your seasons are series? Then what are your series? Like series or something? Season, series, 3. I don't understand, because we're like, look, this was a show. And it's been on for multiple years, and a year is like a season. It's like a season of time. So it's one season, and the second season, and the third season. Not the series, because it's like, did it actually stop? No, you just took a break.
Right.
Ross goes and says Rachel's name when he's getting married, and then we cut for a few months, and we come back. It's not a new series. The series is continuing. It's just in a different season.
Yep.
I don't know why I'm getting intense about this.
It's never in the summer, though. Unless it's one of those, what do they call them, Gordon?
Mid-series replacements?
Yeah, those kind of things.
Yeah. Is that what,
Or if they want to test something out. It's like, we want to test this show out, so we're going to make it premiere in the summer, and then, if you like it, then we'll do a real show next fall.
Yes, exactly.
Like, not this coming fall, but the next fall.
So do they say, it's the holiday series? Do you say that?
No.
No, you don't. Do you say, I love this series? No, you say season. Brits. Again, I don't know why I'm being so combative.
But see, now they did invent the language, so
that is true.
Maybe we're doing it wrong.
Maybe they got the dibs. They're like, look, we came up with this language in the first place, so if we want to change a few words here and there, deal with it, Yanks.
Yeah.
You colonials. Nothing but a bunch of ungrateful punks. Gave you this land, we sent you over there. Gave you food. Well, no, we didn't. But still, let's send you over there. Why? But you got all upset about it and said, we don't want to pay taxes and you fought us. And then eventually we became friends. And then we never give up. And so, maybe you'll calm down over there in America. Maybe.
Yeah.
And with me, as always, did I actually say my name, by the way?
No.
Okay, so my name is Matt of the British, apparently. Some call me Nick Weymouth. And with me, as always, your other host, the one, the only, the reflecting not quite as much light as he might otherwise.
Elisis Multimax.
What is that? Oh, that's the name of our, almost the name of our...
The Multimix.
Multimix,
so
right.
I changed it to Multimax.
That way you wouldn't catch it.
Right.
To know what I was doing.
I'm Elisis Multimix the fourth.
That's actually a pretty cool name for a character.
Not really that bad.
Yeah, Elisis Multimix. I'm going to put that in one of my books.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, is he trying to be all Fifth Element over here? What's her name? Why can I not remember her name?
Mila Jovovich?
Mia Jovovich. Yeah. Whatever. Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Right.
Yeah, that's, or the girl from them Resident Evil movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm making another one of them.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I don't care.
I'm Alicia's Multimix, and I don't give a poop. The fourth.
Right.
Some people call you
Josh Shaw.
Yes. So welcome back, everyone. We hope that you have had a wonderful, excellent, beautiful break.
Hopefully you've been still listening to the Inner Dorkdom when we come on.
We've been making
because we have not gone anywhere.
No, we've been here.
Just a matter of whether you decided to follow us or not.
Right. And so if you did, then cool. And if not, shame on you.
Yeah.
You should feel...
You missed stuffing things.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great, but, it was something you could have done for 3 hours per episode.
Yeah.
In the last series that we did. You see. Yes, but anyway, but in all seriousness, yeah, we hope that you check this out on the Inner Dorkdom, and if you haven't, we would invite you to do so, because, we would feel happy if you did.
And let's see, let me look at this thing here. On November 19th.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Saturday, because we've changed our recording day to Saturday.
Yes, since the Disney has changed the showing day
right.
of Rebels, we are following suit.
Mm-hmm. And on Saturday, November 19th, we will be recording a very special episode of the Inner Dorkdom.
Oh, yes?
You don't even know about this.
No, I don't, apparently. I'm just finding out about it like you are, folks.
Because, actually, we're probably going to, well, I don't know. I would like to do 2. I would like to do one before that.
Okay.
But I don't know if that we can. We might have to just condense it to one Inner Dorkdom episode. But the day before that, Friday, November 18th, is when the new Metallica album comes out.
Yes, so we will have to do an Inner Dorkdom where we talk about the new Metallica album.
I was thinking we need to do an Inner Dorkdom where we just talk about Metallica, because we've never really done that. We've mentioned Metallica a lot.
Quite a bit, yes.
But
we've never actually had an episode dedicated to the dorkiness that is Metallica.
Right. Because, I mean, let's be serious. It's like, I mean, a dorky thing can be anything that you dig on.
Right.
And that you dig on, immensely.
Yes.
There are football dorks. There are baseball dorks. There are Metallica dorks.
And we are Metallica dorks.
Yes.
And so you should be too.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's a very good point. It doesn't have to be sort of intellectual or, science-y.
Right.
For something to be dorky. It could be, devil worshipping like Metallica.
Right.
They're not, people.
No.
People think that they are, but they're really just not.
They do have some songs about the devil.
Yeah, but they're always that he's bad.
Yep.
But they are always bad.
They're always bad.
That's from something, right? But they were all bad. True Lies. When he's got the truth serum, it's like, did you kill anybody?
Yes, but they were
all bad.
Yeah.
Are we gonna die? Yep.
Yep.
They're gonna shoot us in the head, or they're gonna drown us. But I will catch you, Danny. I will catch you. We'll talk about that in a minute.
That was a good movie.
That was
True
a good
Lies.
movie. People who do not know True Lies should.
And then James Cameron just quit doing like regular movies.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just going to do Avatar from now till I die.
From now on, nothing but Avatar.
And we're only going to get one movie, and then like 15 years later, we'll get another one.
Right. And maybe in the interim, I'll come up with a story.
Right. That's the big thing.
Oh, yeah. Really, I just... But anyway,
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie. And
You haven't seen the first,
no,
the
I've
original
not,
one?
no, I've not.
It's not a bad movie,
Yeah,
but
that's what I hear.
it is Pocahontas
In space.
I mean, it's one of those things, kind of like with episode 7, where you can do the Mad Libs thing.
Yeah.
And just replace everything or replace everything in episode 4 with people's names and stuff from episode 7, and it works. It's the same thing with that.
Gotcha.
I mean, exact same thing.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
And it's really long too.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Like I think after Titanic, I think James Cameron was just like, let me see how freaking long I can make
you know
a
what?
movie.
I don't actually care about time length, running time anymore, because I made this one movie that was kind of long, and it made a whole bunch of money. So you know what? People don't care anymore. and then what's his face that made the Lord of the Rings movies?
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson. This would have worked better if I had known his name and didn't have to say the guy that made the Lord of the Rings movies. Because what I was going to say is then Peter Jackson comes up and says, "By Jove, I think you're right."
Well, that's because everything else that Peter Jackson's done has been weird. Like, have you ever seen the thing? Like, it was one of the movies he did before that.
Where like Bilbo goes out with people.
Oh no, sir! This is worse.
No.
It's like it's called like Meet the Meeples or something like that.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
It's like the puppet movie.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that movie makes me feel uncomfortable. He did that. He did another movie, I think, called Dead Alive, which was a zombie movie.
Yeah.
And that is just downright disturbing.
You know what's a zombie movie that I thoroughly enjoy?
What's that?
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies is good, yeah.
Yes. It amuses me.
Yeah.
Especially when they do the power walk, the zombie power walk to scorpions, rock you like a hurricane, but it's zombies.
Yeah.
It's great. If you haven't seen that movie, folks, you should go and watch it.
It's good.
It's not really Star Wars related, but
No.
it's good. So, there you go.
But so, yeah. So, come back to the Inner Dorkdom sometime after November 19th, because there will be an episode.
Where we will talk about the Mighty Met.
The mighty Metallica.
Metallica. Metallica.
Metallica.
Ain't nothing but a Metallica.
Metallica.
Shirt ripper. Towel.
Towel.
Oh no, they're gonna start quoting that movie again. Oh, Birdie. Birdie.
Tiger. Tiger.
It's a tiger. Ooh, that is tender. Yeah, cut off your big toe. Time for his nap. Making me the victor.
Get them all out now.
Just get them all out. The song about the big butts beats you while he listens to it. Non-dairy. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, the Taco Bell. Okay. No one over here, the other over there. Yeah. Wee. Great movie.
It is.
Kung Pao,
Yeah.
Enter the Fist. Go watch it.
Yep.
Is slightly related to Star Wars because there's a chosen one.
That's right.
There will be a chosen one. It will be significant. This works for both of us. Yes. Aren't you glad we're back?
Yeah.
Yes. So what are we going to talk about today, Joshua?
We're going to talk about things that are going on in the world.
That's right. A lot of current events, things that are really hacking us off.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the 2016 election.
Yep.
About Trump versus Clinton.
That's right. We'll talk about global warming.
Let's see, feminism, racism,
Race relations.
What else? What else do those people talk about?
We could talk about economics. You know, is communism or capitalism better?
Right.
We could talk about there's lots of things that people argue about these days.
Religion.
Yes, we were talking about lots about religion. We're going to also talk about
the Dark Lord Satan.
There's many minions.
The primer for the Metallica episode.
That's right, apparently. Or we could talk about rebels.
Yeah, we can talk about something fun.
Let's do that instead. Let's have fun, people. Let's enjoy life a little bit. Let's talk about rebels.
Yep.
So, I have my wireless disconnected right now on my laptop.
Yeah.
Because I don't want Windows filling up my hard drive while we're recording, and thus suddenly we don't get to record anymore. So, point being, I can't pull up any sort of summary of the episodes, but I don't even know if there is one up there. I didn't see, like, the Wikipedia page didn't have a summary yet.
Yeah.
So, we're just gonna kind of wing it.
That sounds good.
So, we're kind of like Winger, you know?
Winger. She's only 17.
That's right. Battle
Daddy
Stations.
says she's too young, but she's old enough
Old
for me.
enough for me. And I've been caught between heaven and hell,
That's right.
you know? Bill and Ted.
But you know about this window thing.
Yes.
I've been trying to tell you now for a couple of years that once you go Mackie, you never go backy.
I don't want to go Mackie. I mean, he's great in the Avengers movies. He's a great Falcon. I love him.
Yeah.
But no, I'm fine with Windows as long as it doesn't force me to do updates and fill up my hard drive with the data. In this case, it's a 32 gig little solid state drive on my laptop, and I use the laptop to record, but Windows is like, oh, I don't care. Let me just try to download 3 or 4 gigs worth of update data and just clogging up my drive. And I'm like, I like your operating system, but don't force your updates on me, man, because maybe I wanted to do stuff with that space. Give me an option to update if I want to or not, to download the updates if I want to or not, and give me an option of saying, Windows, you will not update, or you will not download updates if I have less than X amount of storage space on my hard drive.
You know who doesn't force updates on you?
Let me guess. Pretentious Apple?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you sure they don't?
No.
I'm not sure at all. Maybe they do.
They don't. They don't. I think there's one hanging out now. I think
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm an update. I'm hanging out.
It's the Sierra update because they do
All the mountains or something.
The El Capitan was the last
right.
one.
They need to do Cheehaw. How about that? When
Mount Cheehaw.
Yeah, when they do Mount Cheehaw, then maybe that's when I'll get an Apple
That'll
product.
be the tipping point. Yeah.
That's right. It's like, hey, they gave Alabama some love. And the fact that Tim Cook went to Auburn in the state of Alabama, you'd think that they would be doing that already.
Yeah.
But you know what that proves? He doesn't love his home state.
That could be.
He's like, I went there, but I think they're all horrible.
He did show up at an Auburn game not too long ago.
Well,
It wasn't this season, it was last season.
I mean, that happens. I mean, Cam Newton shows up too.
Yeah. Hey, Leave Cam Newton alone, man.
What? No, I'm just saying.
You like? I don't think like intense about that.
I did. You're like, hey man, don't mess with Cam. My point is that it's not like Cam Newton grew up in Alabama, in the state of Alabama.
That's true.
You know,
He's from Florida, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he didn't start his college career at Auburn. He did 1 year, all year at Auburn, and I mean, it was a great year. He got him to a national championship. But my point is that it's like, hey, he's not really that attached to the state, and yet he came back. So just because Tim Cook came back too doesn't mean it. Plus, Tim Cook got all preachy one time about how people in Alabama don't like homosexuals or something like that, and so. You know, I guess maybe he's bitter about the state, but
I think based on some recent things that you and I know about, I think you would say that that's not true, Tim Cook.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So it's all cool. They're like, what
are they
what
talking
do they know about? That's interesting. Anyway, so the point is that when they have an operating system that's Chiha, I will seriously consider getting some kind of Apple device.
Well, I don't think you will. I think because you're that boneheaded.
You're that biased against Apple.
Yeah.
I have 3 fingers. I want at least 2 buttons. I'm just sorry. I'm still there on that.
Well, see, you can do all of that stuff that you can do with the touchpad and everything. Like, you can do all of that stuff by, like, keyboard shortcuts.
I've only got 3 fingers.
You don't need that. I mean, you can do keyboard shortcuts on a Windows machine.
Well, yeah, but I also like being able to, instead of having to hold down several buttons, do something, just use the other mouse button. I'm just saying is all.
And you are a person who, for your job, you have created scripts
and
things like that.
With lots of keyboard combinations.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you can handle it.
I can handle it. I don't want to handle it. You know what I want to handle? This glass of water right here. How about that? Think about something while I drink water.
I'm thinking.
Did you enjoy that?
I did think.
That's a little moment I gave just for you to think.
Yeah.
So, speaking of thinking, what do you think of this new episode of Rebels?
I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
I thought it was, especially compared to last season's opener, I thought it was relatively weak.
Really?
I mean, it wasn't bad.
It just wasn't as powerful.
Yeah, well, I
impactful.
mean, you think about last time, you had Vader was in it.
Yep.
Let's see what else did we have in the second season premiere? We got to see a lot of Ahsoka, didn't we? I think
so. Yeah.
And just it seemed a lot more big. It's like this episode. We saw Kanan talk to a weird monkey guy that's somehow
in the middle of
the force.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, and then we saw we got Thrawn introduced, where we found out that Thrawn's like this. He's a thinker.
Yep.
And then
smart man, Jenny.
And then we got to see Ezra be a complete and utter bethole.
Josh is just telling it like it is, folks.
Yeah. Well, see, you remember everybody last season when I talked about how I was starting to not like Ezra anymore? That's kind of solidified.
But then they kind of hit the status quo reset button, maybe on him. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. So, which we will explore that in a few minutes as well.
But it was just, it was not, it didn't feel like a season opener.
Yeah.
It felt like there was, and this is because of several things plot wise. One of the things is where and again, we'll get to it in greater detail later, but when Kanan's talking to the Bendu, and he's talking about, I've kind of, just let everybody go, or how's he put it?
Like I've closed myself off.
Yeah, closed myself off to everybody. It's like, really? Did you, Kanan? We didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're about to resolve your problem
that we didn't
even know about.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. It was a resolution to a problem that existed primarily off screen in the off season.
So it had not much impact.
Yeah, there's not like, I'm so glad that he's stopped doing this, because we didn't know that he was really doing this. The only time we got to see it was in this episode, and for a good chunk of it, he wasn't even mentioned. Like, it wasn't until they get back on the mission and they say, "Oh, you did a good job, Ezra." And Ezra says something about Kanan, or maybe someone says Kanan's
gonna
proud.
Lead the mission.
Ooh,
Kanan's got no vision.
No vision. But by the end of the episode, he's got the supervision.
That's right.
That the Bendu teaches him about. Boom. They're the mighty power that can save the galaxy. Unless they die. Hey! Which
they're probably going to cause they can't exist.
'Cause when I die, the last of the Jedi you will be. And then he fades away. And it's Luke. Yeah.
Well, mask
for you there.
Mask parody.
Same guy that wrote He-Man.
Ah.
Bum, 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 Shuki Levy.
Ah. What else did he did another.
Yeah, he did several cool things.
That name
strikes a chord in my soul deep within. Well, while you're looking that up,
go ahead.
I'll give you my initial impressions on the episode.
I didn't ask for them, but
well, I'm giving them to you anyway. That's what this show is about, Joshua. You come in and you expect certain things to happen, and you just must realize that they will happen. And one of them is for us to ramble, and another one is for me to tell you what I felt about the stinking episode. So, I'm kind of like you. I liked it, but I wasn't blown away. For me, I think
he did do the theme song.
I was talking.
He did the theme song for Power Rangers, though.
Really?
Yeah. That's where I knew that name from.
Go, go, Power Rangers. So he wrote Power Rangers.
Yeah.
He wrote He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote Mask.
Mm-hmm.
This is a pretty good resume right there.
He apparently did the music for the Legend of Zelda cartoon as well.
Really?
Yep.
But he didn't write the main theme because that was Koji Kondo.
Right.
You can't get that past me.
There was a Dragon Warrior cartoon show?
Really?
I'm about to look this up.
I wonder if he wrote the main theme to that. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, apparently
Not really.
it was in Japan and it came out here in 1990 in syndication.
Really? We never saw that. Did it look like...
Yeah, it's like the Akira Toriyama style.
Really?
It was the Dragon Quest cartoon show.
Yeah.
And they brought it out over here as Dragon Warrior.
Interesting.
Did not know about that.
That's pretty cool.
Anyway, continue.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt your thoughts.
Just to talk about Shuki Levy.
They did the RoboCop cartoon show too.
I bet he didn't write that theme unless he
Cops?
wrote a new theme. Cops? You know the cartoon show Cops? About the...
Oh, yeah. Dude, I had forgot all about that show.
Yeah, I had some of the action figures
Oh, yeah.
and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Huh.
Learn something new every day.
Man.
Absolutely every day.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget? Did you say Inspector Gadget?
Yeah.
Oh, like he wrote Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
My goodness, I bet that man is rolling in a somewhat decent amount of cash.
Did the music on the real Ghostbusters?
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
How about there's a guy that we need to like track down and like be on our show and let us interview you and talk about all your awesome music. Of course, you know, that interview would basically consist of us singing his music to him.
Yeah. He did the X-Men cartoon show.
Really?
So he was the one that did the...
Interesting.
He did that.
Go, go, Power Rangers.
That is cool. Kudos to that guy.
Yes.
Go ahead.
But man, that He-Man theme is just so awesome.
It is good.
It's just, So, for me, it wasn't so much, well, the big thing for me was coming off of the last season finale.
That's a
I mean, we had all of this big deal stuff. You've got Ezra kind of hooking up with Darth Maul. Mm-hmm. You've got Kanan seeing the deterioration there and their drama. You've got Ahsoka. You've got the big showdown with Vader. You got Kanan losing his eyesight. You've got Ahsoka, who knows what happened to her.
Right.
You know, all of this stuff. Just monumental, big deal stuff. And then we come in and so for me, I'm kind of riding on that wave, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Not like, ew, but just like, oh.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you always expect your season finale to end with a bang and your season premiere to start with a bang.
You know, like Mr. Worf.
Exactly.
Fire.
Exactly.
Bum, bum, bum,
that.
Bum, bum, and then to begin with your last time, and then, you know, fire, and then, oh no, it didn't work. What's going on? You know, the knowledge and experience of the one called Picard is now us. And so you're dead, number one. And then, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know, and then sleep data and all of that. So yeah. But that didn't happen here. It was like, whoa, season finale, and then season premiere.
Yeah.
Okay. resolve some problems I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But so yeah, that's kind of where it was coming from me. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't man. And truthfully, I wasn't man the way I was with like Clone Wars premieres.
No.
A lot of times. Like, remember the well, that wasn't even the premiere, was it? The Geonosis stuff wasn't the premiere of that season. No, because it was the Children of the Force stuff for season 2. But anyway, but I liked it. I liked the episodes, and so we'll kind of we'll see. All right, so it begins with Ezra is in charge of a mission, and they're kind of going through it's like, was it some kind of base?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And they were there to rescue, and we had not a bet, but we was like, okay, so who do you think's on that door?
And I said Lando.
Yeah, and I said Hondo.
Yeah.
And I was right.
Yep.
But I did know that Hondo was going to be in this season. I thought, well, maybe he's the one behind the door, because usually the trailers and stuff for the season only really gives us the first half of the season. So I'm going to guess that Hondo's going to show up here, because and then it was a pig guy, an Ugnaught, and then it was Hondo.
Yeah.
And so we get in the beginning here this whole thing of Ezra's being a little headstrong, and then as the episode progresses, we get more of that. So since we're not going to be able to remember the episode in chronological order, let's just kind of, every time we come to a major topic, let's talk about it. What about that?
Okay.
So
Sounds
you're like,
good.
I've been trying to get you to do that.
I've been saying that for years.
Ain't I been saying it, Miguel? We gotta get as far away from these things as we can. It's the first one of those.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Ezra Bridger, sporting the new short hairstyle, which works both as a Padawan learner kind of deal and as a skinhead, scary looking dude kind of thing. Because, like, at the end of the episode, when he's like, well, we're just going to have to make this whole space station fall down from the sky, and he's got the hardcore devil eye look.
Yeah.
It was, but it wouldn't have worked with his big floofy purple hair.
That's true. I get that.
So I think that visual thing kind of works on both levels. But, yeah, I think throughout this episode, we sort of see that Ezra is indeed kind of fiddling with the dark side. I was surprised, and you were surprised. Well, we were, but then we weren't. Like, when he goes back into his room, and he's kind of pitching a fit. He's pulling a Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did do that, and that's what they told me to do, and I did it, and it wasn't my fault that the pig guy died. And he's hitting stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, calm down, Emo.
Yeah.
And then the eyes start glowing on his helmet.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh wow, he's more into the evil than we realized.
Yeah, I thought he was having some kind of weird hallucination.
Yes, I thought maybe it was like something.
Do you think the helmet's talking to him?
It's like, you got some issues. It's like he's got Vader's helmet, in the background there, burnt up on a thing with some rocks.
Yeah,
there was a little bit of a parallel there.
Yeah, there was. I wonder if there's going to be a holocron in Vader's helmet. And that's why,
for real.
That's why
Here's the holocron. Right here. Open it up. It's very powerful in the Force. Hasn't been trained because it's a box, but still. Trying to roll. Shut up, Snoke. No one was saying a stinking word to you. Big CG punk. Anyway, but so I'm thinking, you're thinking hallucination. I'm thinking like the devil's in his helmet over there.
Right.
There's something going on, but I told Josh. I told you, Josh. I said to Josh, I said, "Oh, the goodness, no, it's that man. He's further in it than we thought." Yeah. And then as he starts to kind of pick up his helmet, I'm like, "Dude, the holocron's in there."
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was. And we get that same voice. Asajj Ventress actress, but not Asajj Ventress character, talking to him. And it's interesting that this is sort of like the closest that we've got to a personification of the dark side.
Yeah.
That it's like, this is what the dark side sounds like when it's tempting you. Because always in Star Wars, it's been there, this idea of the temptation of the dark side. But it's never a direct sort of spoken temptation. It's you just sort of see it, and then like Anakin wants to protect his family, and they want power, and but Here it's literally like, you have wonderful abilities and your friends don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you want? I want to get more powerful so they can see it. Okay. And she's like, well, calm down, nerd. Goodness. I mean, I'm gonna keep seducing you because this is what I do, but you're bringing down the cool level a little bit. Fortunately, we've got Anakin Vader over there. He'll work out pretty well, but goodness, kid, chill it a little bit. You're making the dark side embarrassed.
Yeah.
But so he's, I want more power. But it's very interesting that you're getting, I definitely got some sort of Anakin, Obi-Wan parallels here in terms of he's trying to justify the dark side by saying, this has given me abilities and shown me things that have helped us win. And what is it in one of, I forgot if it's the first mission or the last mission. It's the first mission when they come back and Ezra says something about how, I did what had to be done.
Yeah.
And it's like, that could be a throwaway line, but it's also, that's the dark side, right? You do what has to be done. I mean, to me, it kind of reminds me of the conversation that Obi-Wan and Anakin and Tarkin and Ahsoka had when they went to the Citadel, remember? And they broke him out, and he's like, it seems to me that the Jedi are not doing everything they could do because of your crazy Jedi rules. And Anakin's like, I agree. And everyone's like, what the crap, Anakin? You're going to turn to the dark side. That guy clearly looks like a ghoul, and you're agreeing with him. Maybe you ought not be doing that. And funny, the old Tarkin shows up in this. But so it's that same kind of deal, which, I guess you could criticize and say, well, guys, really? Come on, doing the same thing. But that's what the dark side does. Yeah. That's how the dark side tries to get good people to go bad. That's a tremendously important lesson. That it's like good people can be turned to evil by appealing to the emotions that they have of wanting to do the right thing.
Yep.
Without encouraging them to stop and to think through and to be reasonable about, okay, I have good intentions and good motives and good emotions, but is this the right way to go about it?
Exactly.
Very important stuff.
Excellent lesson.
Yes. Thank you. As you stand and sing. Invitation song. Come back. But anyway, so I mean, Ezra gets pretty hardcore, and as Ezra was getting pretty hardcore, and I'm going to make the station burn and fall from the sky, and blah, blah. What were you saying about Ezra? You said to me on multiple occasions,
this boy just needs to die.
Boy needs to die.
Because I'm just like that episode was enough to make me sick of him.
Yeah,
like just straight up sick. I mean, when he talked to
the spiders,
space whales,
and
the spiders in the season finale and everything, like that was, I was like, okay, Golden Boy, quit.
Yeah,
like you're not the chosen one. We've already had that.
He's hanging out being dark side for a while.
I'm not really proud of the writers in this instance, like trying to recreate that.
Right. So that was one thing.
That was one thing, and then when he does this stuff, I'm like, okay, now I just don't like the boy's character because he's just being a jerk.
Yeah, it's like
a bit hoe.
Yeah, no longer is it come on, writers.
Yeah,
I'm not happy with what you're doing. Right. It's now you're back in the story. You're not looking at it as a story and thinking about the writers. You're back in the story and you're going, all right, Ezra, I don't like you anymore. Right. You're gone.
Yep.
Time to die.
Get out of here. You're done.
Get out of
here.
Go
home. You're drunk.
Go home, Ezra. You're evil.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. Which it's funny because we were reading after the episode an interview that Dave Filoni did. I think it was with iFilm. And it was an interview that it felt sometimes like it was done by a 12-year-old.
Yes, it did.
But I think it was because it was almost like a direct transcript of the interview. Like they didn't edit out the likes and stuff. Which on the one, I'm like, hey, that's cool. You're honest and being like, look, this is how I asked him questions. This is what I sounded like. Yeah. I was like,
I'm kind of a moron.
I don't really, and I was like, man, I just don't know because like, what's that all about? And I didn't really get into the Clone Wars that much.
And there were several times at the end where Dave Filoni just cuts him off.
I was like, yeah, well, it's a different kind of show, and blah, blah. It was just so episodic. And it's like, and part of me, this is the old cranky part of me, is like, you stinking young kids in your episodic hatred, It's like, I don't like shows that are episodic. I want it to be, what's non-episodic?
We
talk about it all the
serialized.
time. Yeah, it's like, oh, serialized is cool, episodic is bad. Remember on the 80s when shows were bad and they were episodic? I'm like, look, episodic television is not necessarily bad.
No.
But anyway, that's me old cranky. Get off my lawn, I'm cold. Kind of being that guy. But anyway, but it was a good interview. I just, there are times when I'm like, dude, you could copy edit this. No one's going to be mad. Because none of us talks like it would sound good if it was written down. I mean, take that sentence just now. Imagine reading that.
Right.
I mean, like,
well, see, that's the thing. Now, you as a teacher, you've graded papers.
Yes.
As a student, I've done peer reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that bothers me, because see, folks, here's the thing. Like, I am not a very good speaker. When I speak, I say things that are incorrect to say, that are not correct to do.
But at first they joke. It's more kung pao. Like it.
But when I write, I'm much more conscious of what I'm saying. I'm much more conscious of my word choice and things like that. Much more better. That's right.
More better blues.
But you can see people who will write a paper
though they were speaking.
Yeah, and like, don't do that. No. Don't do that because you don't speak well. like if you spoke well, that might work out. But if you use a lot of slang and things like that, and you're trying to write a professional paper
and incomplete sentences,
yeah.
like that right now, and incomplete sentences. There's no people are like, whoa, stop the train. Why did you talk like that? But if you wrote that down, that's an incomplete sentence and incomplete sentences.
Yeah.
It's very meta, too, because it's an incomplete sentence about incomplete sentences. Whoa, a fourth wall break within a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls. Most of you don't need to watch that movie, you young whippersnappers.
No.
But anyway, there's a difference between spoken English that's acceptable and written English that's acceptable.
Right.
So guy could have edited himself. But anyway, in the interview, he asks the question. It's like, in a show that, no offense, but is for kids, because the guy said that I like the fact that it's kind of getting darker as an adult. I enjoy that. But the show, no offense, but it's a kid's show. So what do you do? Can you kill off characters? Can you make good characters go evil in a kid's show? And Dave was like, well, certainly you can. He's like, oh, by the way, I don't mind you calling it a kid's show, because George used to tell us all the time, you cannot forget. You must remember that Star Wars is for kids.
Yeah. And that's something that you and I have been talking about for years.
Yep. Ain't we been saying it, Miguel?
But like people make, get Star Wars dark. We want Empire Strikes Back dark. And we want darker than that. We want just nasty, just blackness, just oil just dripping
gritty,
off of everything.
Gritty, oozy, just like if you put sand in with oil and you mix it on sandpaper and you rub it on your face.
That kind of dark.
That's what I want out of Star Wars. Dark, gritty sandpaper oil.
And it's like, if Star Wars was like that when you were a kid, you wouldn't like it.
And Dave makes that exact point.
Yep.
He's like,
dadgum, if I don't quit hitting this MacBook, I'm going to eventually have to buy another one.
Dave, and the ghost of
Steve Jobs
says,
like, yes.
I'll tell Tim about that tonight in a dream. Tim Cook's like, sometimes Steve comes to me in dreams in the middle of the night. I don't know. I don't think he's ever claimed that, but I don't think.
Let's hope not.
Oh, but yeah, Dave makes that point. He's like, we as fans, we sometimes can get very attached to things and sort of have this kind of deal where we hold on to them too tightly and we want to turn them into something that they aren't. And he makes this exact point that you made, Josh, that we forget that if the things that we liked were dark and gritty the way that we as adults want them to be, if that's the way they had been to begin with, and again, this was a point that George made, he's like, you're taking away the opportunity for this generation to enjoy it, because if you make it too dark, they won't like it.
Yep. It's another argument that we'll make, because if this is your first season joining us, then you should probably know that we're big fans of the prequel.
We love them.
You're going to turn the podcast off at that point. That's your prerogative.
Your choice. You must do what you feel is right, of course.
But
I do Obi-Wan, by the way. Sometimes.
But it's an argument for that because, in my personal opinion, that's why those movies are, or at least especially episode 1, is a little bit more lighthearted, and people hate it so much because they were adults that watched a movie that was made for kids,
right?
Like Star Wars, like A New Hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, George always has shown us, and it happened with the original trilogy, it happened with the prequels, it happened with the Clone Wars show. You start lighter, and then you get a bit darker. You know, you get a little bit more nuance, you get a little bit heavier. But even the heaviest of the heavy is not going to cross a certain threshold.
Right.
And I think a lot of people wanted Star Wars to cross that threshold and stay crossed that threshold. And it's not going to happen. And so Dave, makes that point that you want kids to be able to enjoy it. Yep. And he said that for him as a storyteller, he said that's one of the things I feel like is one of my primary responsibilities is to make sure that that I tell stories that are going to excite the imagination of young people. And I think that's great because, the children are our future.
That's right.
We need to teach them well. Let them lead the way. We might ought to show them all the beauty that they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride.
That's right.
Sexual chocolate. That's a good movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Coming to America.
Yeah. Yeah, very.
Give me a sense of pride. Make it easy. Anyway, I believe it long ago. Eddie Murphy's a funny man.
Yes, he is.
So anyway, but back to the meat of that question was, can you take characters and kill them off or make them dark? And Dave's like, oh, certainly. He begins that answer by saying that, and he comes back to that at the end of the answer. He says, oh, you can certainly do that. And so you can do it, and I think you're going to have to do it.
Yeah. And like when he says that about, it's got to mean something, that's the reason every time something big would happen in the Clone Wars, in the Clone Wars show, we would, when something overly dark would happen, we'd be like, whoa,
because it
was not necessarily out of place. The story felt like it needed to go there, but it was a big deal.
Yeah, it's not the sort of thing that happens all the time.
Right,
it's never happened before.
It's like
it's out of place.
It's like this is a fun adventure thing, and then all of a sudden this dark thing happens. Kind of like Jurassic World, but that turned me off to the entire movie.
Right, exactly. Josh did not approve of the pterodactyl snatching up everybody scene.
No.
Yeah, I can understand.
Snatching your people up.
Snatching your people up. Going through your old Jurassic Park, snatching your people up. So you better hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your husband, because they're snatching everybody up there. There's no need to run and... How would you change that in there? There's no need to run and confess. We're looking for you. We're going to shoot you. We're going to shoot you. Shoot the... Anyway. It's a good song. Very good. And then the double rainbow all the way across the sky.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And then dead giveaway. Remember that giveaway?
I don't remember that one.
About there was like some guy that had like abducted some women, and this is what seriously happened, and was keeping them in his house. And like one of them, like he was gone, and the one of the women was able to escape, and she came like to the neighbor or one of the neighbors, and sort of said, you need to help us. And so he goes against the authorities and everything, and they were freed. But so he did the interview, and he's talking about it. He's like, I knew something was strange was going on when a little white girl ran into a black man's arms, because he was black and the girl that was abducted was white. Yeah. And he's like, that's a dead giveaway. And so it turned into dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. Knew something was wrong when a little white girl ran into a black man's arms. Dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. And he talks about, he's like, our neighbor was pretty gutsy because, we would hang out with them. He says, we saw this dude every day. I'd eat ribs with this dude, but we didn't have a clue. The girls were in that house, and so of course they turned it into a song. It's a good one. So yeah, I'm surprised you haven't.
Have seen "Oh Lord Jesus, It Was Fire"?
No, I haven't seen that one.
That one's a good one.
I need to look to see. Now we both know Shmoyo songs.
That's the one. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Oh, okay.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, then yeah, I definitely need that. Need to see that one. Yeah, there you go. Good stuff on the Clone Cast. I mean, on the Rebels Cast, whatever it is. Whatever. Where were we going with that? They give away. Oh, the Pteranodons, the pterodactyls. Yeah. You didn't like that. Dark moment. Yeah. We always come back. You know who else always comes back?
Kanan.
You know why? Because he likes our shows.
That's right.
He referenced it.
He did.
So there you go. But yeah, it was always a big deal. And that's what Dave said. He's like, George would tell us, don't do it just to do it. It needs to mean something.
Yep.
This is important. This means something. And so, yeah, I'm with you. I think that Kanan needs to die being a good guy, a good noble guy. And I think that Ezra needs to succumb to the dark side and get killed. Mm-hmm. And I think that in the overall grand scheme of the Star Wars saga, that can do something that is not trivial. And that is, it can remind us, it can show us, if you're watching the story in chronological order, of what can happen. And I know that Anakin turned to the dark side, and it's like, well, we don't need anybody telling us, we know. But the point is that, look, Anakin turns to the dark side, becomes Vader, and as far as we know, keeps being evil. Mm-hmm. Ezra turns to the dark side and is killed. So then when Luke is struggling with temptation, even though he doesn't struggle with it as strongly as either of them, but still it's like, well, now he might turn evil and be all powerful and the Emperor's right hand man. He might turn evil and die. Mm-hmm. It would give us a concrete example of what could go wrong. Yeah,
that's something I hope that, after the Disney acquisition and the advent of the story group and everything like that, I hope that they never lose sight of the fact that this is all supposed to be viewed as one big thing.
Right, exactly. And that the big story still really ought to be Anakin.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he's not there, that's the bones, that's the framework, that's the backbone of the story.
Yeah.
And I know that episode 7 takes place after it, but Anakin's still haunting that.
Yeah, indeed.
And the rumors are that he might do more haunting.
I hope that's the case.
I do too. I know we've talked about it on the Inner Dorkdom, but the rumors are that maybe a Hayden might show up.
Yeah.
Do it, and then it's like you can't ignore it.
Adam Driver has said recently. He's talking about how good the script is for episode 8.
Yeah,
and how much he liked working on it and everything like that. So I'm hoping it's better than JJ's movie.
Yeah, I think it probably will.
It probably will be too.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny, Dave, in that interview, the guy asks him something like, I kind of got the impression that you felt like, and I forgot who else he said, that maybe episode 7 was too much of a been there, done that. And Dave's going to give a politically correct response, sure. Just like he did with about the whole James Arnold Taylor thing. Don't get me started on that again. But he's like, I think it's great. I thought they did a great job. But he talks about then how, they had this sort of responsibility, this difficult burden of, reintroducing Star Wars and blah, blah, blah. And
it's difficult responsibility of making sure that all the fanboys love it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Dave even said something along those lines. Like he said that, we're bringing Star Wars back, or Star Wars, this is the Star Wars you used to know or used to remember. And I'm like, Dave, you got to be a little bit less of a multiple personality kind of guy over here, because you worked with George. You did the Clone Wars, which was not the old school original Star Wars kind of thing. There are people that hate the prequels that hated your show.
Yep.
And so, but then I don't sometimes. But anyway, that's a different discussion for a different time. And I know that I think that was the interview was conducted at Celebration when they premiered the episode for the people there. So, he was probably busy and tired and this, that, and the other. But anyway, Dave makes the point that he says that, when the trailer for episode 7 came around, and the first one, and it's like, oh, there's Han and Chewie, and everybody's excited about that. He said, but the cool things, with what Ryan's doing with episode 8 and where the story's going and all of that. And he said, when people see Rey for the first time in the first episode 8 trailer, they'll be like, hey, I know her. That's a character I'm familiar with, and blah, blah, blah. But just the way he said it, you kind of got the vibe that it's like, this is going to move the story forward.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
Because
I can't wait to see Rey again.
I know. You're excited about that. I got to admit, I hope at the end of the day when Dave lays his head on and takes his fedora off and lays his head on his pillow. He's like, yeah, episode 7 could have been more. I just want him to feel that way.
Yeah.
Just maybe it's up to him.
It's up to him how he feels.
He feel how he wants to, but I would like it. Given that he worked with George and everything, it'd be kind of cool for him to be like, yeah, if my friend George had done it, it would have been.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I mean, he knows that.
Yeah.
He's got no. I mean, George has said that.
Yeah.
Said that after the movie came out.
He's like, I wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't have done that.
I would have
done something different.
Yep.
and probably Dave Filoni is like, yeah, George, you're probably right. Ooh. What was that?
That was the adjustable seat thing.
Oh,
here.
I thought you like cracked your knuckle or something. Like, man, that's pretty hardcore.
I like my knuckles cracked. I'll crack them again. Okay, here we go. It's better. All 3 of my knuckles cracked. Oh, if you're a new listener, I'm deformed. So anyway, Kanan. It's true, though.
Yeah.
I have no legs to speak of. I have legs, but they're short, and then they don't have toes and feet and things.
Yeah.
And then I've got 3 fingers on my left hand, and my right arm is like it bows up, it comes in at the elbow, and I got 1 finger on it.
And I'm fat.
Yeah, Josh is just, but you're not fat. Like if someone looked at you, they'd be like, he's stocky.
I don't think so. I think if somebody looked at me, they would say he's fat. I think they might not say he's obese.
Yeah,
but they were like, he's a fat guy.
That's pretty fat guy.
Or at the very least chubby.
Yeah, maybe chubby, but like you don't carry it in your face. Like you're not like chubby chickers, chubby cheese, chubby cheeks.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So I think you look good, Josh. I think you're handsome,
Thank
man.
you.
You're a pretty man.
But see, I'm not one of them kind of people that kind of stuff bothers me.
That's true.
If somebody were to say, "Hey, you know what? You're fat,"
you'd be like, "Yeah,
I know."
I thought about losing weight once, but I'm like, I'm gonna eat that cheeseburger instead because that seemed like a better option.
I'm actually trying to lose the weight again.
Yeah.
It's not really worked. Like today was not a good day.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I ate what you didn't eat of a pizza.
Yeah.
So
and I ate 2 slices
good.
of a pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really didn't have like much else to eat today.
So that's okay. It's all good.
Like, what did I have? I think I had a Hot Pocket before I came here.
Did it self-destruct?
Hot Pocket self-destruct.
New Metallica song.
Yeah. Hot Pocket to self-destruct.
Hot Pocket. There you go.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we're here at the end of Darkness. We've got our physical problems.
Yeah, we got our issues. You know, we are.
But the simple fact is about it, we really don't care.
That's right.
That's how we carry ourselves.
We roll.
We just
like
roll
that.
with it.
Mm-hmm. I literally, for
Nick
me,
literally rolls.
I got a power electric.
I roll
figuratively.
figuratively.
Yeah. I roll figuratively.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we rolling. Right. We keep rolling.
We be rolling.
They hating. But for us, it's because we're white and nerdy.
Right.
Not because we're riding dirty.
Yeah. The only question that we ever thought was hard was we like Kirk or we like Picard.
Actually, we didn't, because we knew the answer.
We did know that.
Picard.
We've always known the answer to
Clearly
that.
Picard. If you think it's Kirk, then you're...
No. You're wrong.
You and your cowboy diplomacy. Cowboy diplomacy? You know, Spock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Spock.
Yeah, that's right. I know Spock.
I know Spock.
No Bassmasters.
That's right. And his brother, Cybok. Spock and Cybok.
It's not very clever.
Nope. Gonna go to Shakari. You know, Sean Connery.
Yeah.
That's where the name came from.
Really?
Yeah. At one point, when they were writing the script, they thought, boy, it'd be cool to get Sean Connery to play Spock's brother. Of course, it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. But so the name of the Vulcan heaven was Shakari. Sean Connery.
Huh.
Yep.
Did not know that.
Ain't that a kick in the pants?
It sure is.
Ain't that a kick? Ain't that a kick in the something? Is what Al used to say. Al, Calavici.
I think he did say kick in the pants.
Probably so. This is nozzle.
Nozzle.
Talking about nozzles.
Worthless pile of gummy bears.
That's right.
People are like, they have just gone into a drunk ramble now.
We're tired. It's true. We have nothing for you anymore.
There's no excuse.
So where were we? We were talking about Ezra turning to the dark side.
Right, and that got us talking about dark.
Yeah,
things.
that's right. Exactly.
And then about him dying.
Yeah. Which, could very well happen.
I think it needs to happen.
Yep. Because again, like we said, he
doesn't make sense if he doesn't.
Yep.
It kind of ruins parts of the integrity of Star Wars if he doesn't.
And like we said, that's something, and that's kind of what you were getting to a minute ago, that we really hope that in the story group, that's what they do. They realize this is, they really focus on that, and they don't go for the quick and easy that ultimately in the long term hurts things. So basically don't turn to the dark side.
Right.
Because that's what it's all about.
Yep.
So yeah, and that's the thing, you've got this whole recurring thing of the dark side is the quick and easy path, but it's the path that leads to destruction.
Yeah.
So we kind of get that whole thing running through. One of the other things that we get, of course, is that Ezra has been on a tear of some successful missions, and so Tarkin's all upset about it and wants to know what's going on, so he talks to another one of the governors, Ediana Spalco.
Yeah.
It totally seems like, she's got the same haircut and everything. Yeah. And so she's going to bring someone else in. And of course, we all know who it was.
Yeah.
Grand Admiral Thrawn. So Thrawn shows up and Tarkin's like, oh, hello, or whatever. And I was like, welcome to the canon.
Right.
Not welcome back to the canon.
Yeah, like the guy in the interviews that was.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're bringing a Thrawn back into the canon. It's like, nope.
He was never there.
No, never there. Because the EU was never canon.
That's right.
Ever. But what we are doing is bringing him into canon. So it's like that moment really is like that is
the introduction in Star Wars, period, of Thrawn.
It's like, welcome. It is funny when Tarkin was talking to Spalco. I don't remember what her name is, and I don't care.
I can't stop hitting this MacBook. I just can't stop it.
That should be in a commercial. I don't know if an Apple commercial or a Microsoft commercial. Yeah. I just can't stop hitting this MacBook. I don't know if the point is that it keeps surviving or if I'm hitting it because it's bad. So who wants to take that commercial? It's up to you. For the right price, it can be yours. but anyway, so when he's talking to Spalco and they're kind of concerned or whatever, it's like, oh, we'll take care of it or whatever. And it's like, I was imagining Tarkin be like, oh, let me just pull up some EU books. I'll bring someone in from the EU. We'll do it that way.
Heir to the Empire.
We'll start with the beginning. Hey, I guess I could get that guy. But should I bring in the East Alamiri? I'm glancing over at Dave Filoni. Oh, no, he's giving me the stink eye no. Okay. No. Because in that interview, Dave Filoni made the point that he does not expect the East Alamiri to show up.
Yeah, this is something we had actually wondered about on the Inner Dorkdom when the season, or when it was announced that Thrawn was going to be made canon.
Right. Because not everybody, but some people kind of jumped to the conclusion that, well,
everything will. It's like, no, that does not mean that there is an automatic end for everything that was EU is now canon again.
Right. No.
Stop it. That's what got you in trouble in the first place.
Right. Just because Thrawn is brought in doesn't mean that Thrawn's EU backstory is brought in. Just the same way that bringing in Quinlan Vos, bringing in Aayla Secura, did not bring in their backstories. The same way calling Coruscant didn't suddenly bring in everything that happened in the EU novels on Coruscant is canon now. No. It just means that they're taking something from the EU. Time will tell what elements, what trappings, what backstory of that character will be brought in. And so people were all like, whoa, and we're like, whoa, slow down. And one of the things that we had talked about was East Alamiri, because I was never a big fan of the East Alamiri. But especially as the prequel started unfolding, really all we needed was episode 1. The scene with Qui-Gon and Anakin on the landing platform on Coruscant when Qui-Gon explains to Anakin what midichlorians are. And he says that they're microscopic life forms, residing in our cells. They live inside me. Yes, inside your cells. And what does he say? He says that without the midichlorians, life could not exist and we would have no knowledge of the Force. So it's like the midichlorians connect to the Force, and the Force is what gives life. And so just from that, it's like, well, then the East Alamiri doesn't make sense. Because if they create a bubble in the Force, then they're not going to have midichlorians. But without midichlorians, you're not alive. So, no, everything that's alive is connected to the Force in some way. And just on a sort of stepping out of the story and thinking about it from a, George Lucas writing it standpoint, to the extent that the Force is supposed to be sort of analogous to some of the Eastern religion kind of concepts, the whole notion, like with Buddhism, it's like that Atman is Brahman, that like everything is one. So you wouldn't have something like the Isa al-Amiri, but not them.
Right.
It's like, no, everything is connected. Everything's part of this one thing. Yeah. The Force permeates everything.
Because that was what correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what the Yuuzhan Vong were.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't have a connection to the Force or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm sorry, Star Wars says you do.
Yeah, because you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, you could come up with some other way to make it where the Jedi can't sense them, because I think that was part of it, to make them a threat so the Jedi wouldn't. But it's like, all you have to do is be Palpatine. They couldn't sense him. They were in the room with him all the time. But anyway.
See, this is one of the things where I'm like, okay, at some point you got to stop doing Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay, and it really boils down to this: who is your villain thing?
Yeah.
Because when you have like okay, we've got the Anakin thing, the Palpatine, big bad,
right?
Kill big bad, it's over.
Yeah.
That's the reason I say that, to me still, even though there'll be more Star Wars, to me, the story that I really cared for ended with Return of the Jedi.
Now, Rogue One set before that can be a part of that
story.
Sure,
absolutely.
But chronologically in universe, the story ends at episode 6.
I mean, and episode 7 can start a new like a sequel to the original 6 movies.
Right.
But when you start, like, well, we see that, the only thing that can really match a Jedi is a Sith.
Yeah.
Or, some powerful dark side user. And we do now know that, even according to, George Lucas era stuff, that there's more than just Sith out there. There's people can still use the dark side.
Right. Even if they don't adhere to all the doctrines of the Sith.
Right.
And wouldn't even consider themselves to be so.
Right. So we do know that it's got to be a Force user of some sort to even compete with the Jedi. So if we can't have that, and if we don't want to seem like we're repeating ourselves over and over again by putting some other new big bad that's powerful Force user.
General!
Yeah, now we've got to bring in, this alien race, can make themselves, unsensible in the Force.
Right. Well, and what's funny is...
and it's taken to ridiculous places.
Right, not to mention the fact that it was a rehash of Heir to the Empire. Because that's the whole reason why Thrawn wanted the Isa al-Amiri, was to have that tactical advantage over the Jedi. And Filoni makes the point that he found Thrawn very interesting, and felt like he fit in with Star Wars, but the Isa al-Amiri not so much. And so Dave says that, so we want to bring in Thrawn, and we want to play up that analytical, tactical, sort of smart sort of thing. Basically saying we want to make him interesting and intelligent and whatever enough that he doesn't need the Isa al-Amiri thing to be a threat to the good guys. Yeah. And so that's what the Isa al-Amiri were. That's what the Yuuzhan Vong were. And it's like Buffy.
Yeah.
The Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
In that you keep having seasons or series. You keep having seasons, and you keep having a different big bad.
Right.
And eventually the show just gets diluted.
Yeah.
In terms of the integrity of the coherence, the resonance, the oomph of the story, because it's okay, well, now it's this bad guy, now it's this bad guy. And it's like, it's not going anywhere.
Exactly.
There's no overall story structure anymore. And so I'm with you. I think at some point you say, we're done. That's
why, and I understand. I understand we're only one movie in, but I don't understand what relevance any movie that comes after episode 6 is going to have.
Yeah,
like it's just like, what do you do?
Yeah, well, I think you've got to do it. I mean, it's Star Trek did it in the sense that, you go a little bit later and you got other people and it's in the same world. But the story of the Next Generation isn't telling the story of Kirk and them. It's a whole different story. But I think the difference is that it's like everything Star Wars related pretty much up until
Well, it's centered around that one thing.
Yeah, everything in some way was supporting or an essential part of that story.
Yeah, the chosen one.
Yeah, the story of the chosen one. It's only now with episode 7 that we have something that's not real, that's canon and not really connected to that. Mm-hmm. Again, assuming that it isn't, it's still there's with Anakin the helmet, you never know. But the point is that so it really is like, okay, now this is where Star Wars, in a sense, is becoming a franchise, where Star Wars becomes not a particular story, but a fictional universe in which to play.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, what are you talking about, guys? I mean, there's all this EU stuff. It's like, yeah. But even if we take that into account, it was still the case, was it not, that in many ways, now, again, I guess you would say, well, all the Heir of the Empire crap and all that, sorry, that came there, because I like the books. But anyway, those books, not every book. But, at least then it sort of fed into the continuing story of his kids. Yeah. Which in some ways related back to that, but
well, it's still, and even going with the EU thing, like, and I get what you're saying about, continuing stories set in that universe. That's all fine and dandy. But it's still like you've already had the big bad in Star Wars is dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so are you trying to tell me that there's going to be another bad guy that's either as powerful or more powerful than Palpatine?
In which case, it's going to dilute the power.
Exactly. That just seems lame.
Story. Yeah, no, I'm completely with you on that. Yeah. Like, I think that any stories that take place after episode 6 have to not involve a big bad. You can have the villains of stories. Yeah. And obviously, I'm not saying that we no longer have antagonists, but that the big victory was achieved by Anakin right there at the end of episode 6.
Yeah, that's the reason back a couple of years ago, or at least a couple of years ago now, when we were first talking about episode 7 and whether it would actually be called episode 7 or not. And I was okay with it not being.
Yeah, exactly.
Because basically, if you want to say, okay, we had the Star Wars saga, episodes 1 through 6, that told one story. Yeah. And now everything else is just going to be stories set in that universe.
Yeah, exactly. Then this is when it becomes a franchise. This is when it becomes not a story, but an environment, a fictional universe in which to tell stories.
But when you call it episode 7, it's like it's the continuing thing. Yeah. It's like, I thought that was over, though.
And that's the thing, because it's like, as we've said, we liked episode 7, but it doesn't feel like a direct continuation to me of episode 6.
No, it really doesn't.
It's like, okay, time has gone by, just like a time, passed between episodes 3 and 4, but this time, episode 3 ended with, the last person to speak in episode 3 was 3PO. Mm-hmm. First person to speak in episode 4, 3PO. Mm-hmm. It ended with the construction of the Death Star and the delivery of the twins. It begins with a crawl talking about the Death Star, one of the twins, and Anakin. Yeah. So it's like, yes, time has gone on, but the characters, I mean, you really think about it. The main characters in episode 4 that were not a part of the story that came before, even if we're not counting the Clone Wars, it are what? Han and Chewie. Because technically, even though he didn't say anything, and you wouldn't know his name or anything, technically, Tarkin showed up at the end of episode 3.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So you've got, in terms of your main characters, we already knew Luke, we already knew Leia, we already knew Vader. Palpatine is referenced, and we knew about him. Tarkin had a little cameo. Alderaan is mentioned. Bail Organa is mentioned. We knew Bail Organa. So it's Han and Chewie, and then side characters, Wedge and this and the other. But then now when you go from episode 6, it's actually no, now it's
yeah.
But it's Ewoks happy and fireworks, and look, there's Anakin with Obi-Wan. I want
to hear any more about Obi-Wan.
Exactly, and Yoda, and it's victory and everything, and then the last person to speak in episode 6 would be it'd be either Han or Leia, right? Because it was when they're like,
Yeah.
he's my brother.
He's my brother,
and
yeah.
we kiss, right? Okay. So it ends with them. And then episode 7 begins with some stormtroopers. Okay, fine. And then some pilot guy and some guy that sounds like Vigo.
Mm-hmm.
And then some guy in a helmet that looks like it'd be wannabe Vader, but like there's no continuity. The only continuity from a character standpoint is Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie.
Yeah. And the droids.
But R2's in a coma for most of the movie. 3PO doesn't show up until halfway through. There's a droid in most of the movie, but it's a different droid.
Yeah.
So it's like, it just from a character's standpoint, if you just analyze the story from that standpoint alone, the break between episode 3 and 4 is much smaller than the break between episode 6 and 7. So it feels like the beginning of a new story.
Yeah.
That includes little bits of interaction and involvement from some characters from the old story.
Which is fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, but it just...
Because that's probably what, even if George was still the one that was going to write it, or at least still the one that was going to make the story that they used.
Yeah.
That's probably what he would have done.
Yeah, because he probably would have been like, well, I finished that story.
Right.
This is going to be something different.
Yeah. But it's like, it's still, I mean, I think we would have had the same problem even if George was the one that was still holding the reins.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do to top the last thing?
Exactly.
Or at least do something equivalent to that?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean...
And especially have it feel like somehow when this trilogy ends, it'll be the true end of the story. Because that's the thing. It's like if episode 9 was the last of the episode numbers.
Yeah, right.
Let's just say that were to happen. Mm-hmm. Somehow... that movie is going to be the end of the story that began in episode 1. That
is it really going to hold up?
No, I
don't think so.
It'll be more like, well, is Ghostbusters 2 the end of the story that began with Ghostbusters 1? It'd have to be something like that, where it's like, well, when we say episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's just more like, the first movie and the second movie, part 2, part 3, the fourth one. It's like, but no. There's the way that it's episode this, episode that, episode 7, episode 8, it's episodic. It's one big story told in episodes. Right. As opposed
serialized like what those people want.
Exactly. As opposed to, we made a movie, now we're going to make a sequel to the movie where something else happens. Mm-hmm. So it's a different kind of ball game. So I don't know how that'll happen. But
Thrawn's in canon now.
That's right. Thrawn's in canon. So welcome to canon. But it was very interesting in that interview, like we said, where Filoni said that he liked Thrawn from the get-go.
Yeah.
He says that him, and I forgot the name, Kiri? That it was someone apparently that works at the story group. Mm-hmm. He said, she and I have a very similar sort of feel or take on, what feels like Star Wars and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. Which, for me is an interesting idea and notion, because way back in the day, back when I was in college and I was hanging out on Star Wars chat rooms and message boards on AOL.
Right.
Hanging out with like Dr. Milo, and that was one of the guys' names, and some other folks. And one of the things that he and I especially would talk about when people discuss things, because again, at that point, it was the EU books that people talk about. And we're like, some things just don't feel Star Warsian. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of the term. I think I used it once. He's like, I'm going to use that too. And so we would talk about things being Star Warsian or not. Well, it seems like Dave Filoni was doing the same thing back in the day. And he's like, so Thrawn felt right. Thrawn felt Star Wars. But the Salamiri, not so much. Mm-hmm. And like we said, he said that he felt like you can make Thrawn interesting without them. But he said, so yeah, I don't expect to see them.
Yeah.
And we just gave each other a high five at that point. We're like, boom. Because, we've argued that. You don't need the Salamiri. But so Thrawn is in canon. Mm-hmm. He just kind of shows up and is like,
doesn't really do a whole lot.
I think this thing happened and then this other thing happened. And it might not seem connected, but if you remember that the person that Hondo was in prison with worked at this thing over here, which is only one jump away. And it's like, oh yeah, because that's so brilliant. I mean, that was clever, but that's not like savant clever.
Right.
Which is like, okay, well, let's see. Hondo and Akka and this guy were broken out of jail, and this guy worked over here. Well, we ought to be on the lookout, since the guy that worked there that was arrested because he was trying to escape was broken out of prison, although he died. But the point is, so they may be onto that. So we need to be I mean, it's clever, but it's not clever.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just good thinking.
So, what do you think about Thrawn's voice?
It's funny. It was different.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't like it is because I like dude who did his voice in TIE Fighter Collector CD.
Yes. But we do have some emotional attachment to that. Yeah. But I like the way he did that.
Yeah. He sounds like, one of Thrawn's things was, that did carry over into canon was the whole, the cold tactician type thing. And the guy, in my opinion, the guy from TIE Fighter did a better job at conveying that vocally than this guy does. This guy just sounds really odd. Yeah. You're a weird guy.
Yeah, he's weird, man. It's like he's got a strange kind of accent, and he's like, I'm kind of here and I'm kind of not here because I'm kind of in my own world. But if you look at this, it's like I told Josh, it's like eventually at some point by the end of the season, he's going to be stripping down, walking around absolutely naked with a little hydrogen symbol on his forehead.
Right.
Which is a reference, if you're not familiar with it, to The Watchmen.
Right.
Where there's this character called Dr. Manhattan who has this he's a normal dude and this horrible accident happens and he becomes actually the only real true superhero that is with powers. Because I wouldn't necessarily say he's a hero, but the only superpowered person in the world of the Watchmen. And he's like got all these powers and he can be multiple places at once, but so he's disconnected from people. And so I was like, he's going to be like, I am Grand Admiral Thrawn Manhattan, Doctor. Because he's just kind of got this, and it's like, that could be an interesting angle on the character, but I also like the idea of I'm here and I'm engaged and I'm paying attention. I'm not also, kissing a woman over there with my other body. I'm here and we're gonna snuff these people out. Like there's a little bit more motivation.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
Is it just me or did Thrawn not always have iris and pupils in his red eyes? I thought or at least in the old art,
did he look more like Gozer?
No, he looked more like Cad Bane. Yeah. Like solid red eye type thing.
I don't remember.
I thought he did, but I mean, maybe not. Maybe he did have an iris and pupil.
Yeah, you ought to look it up, or look him up in TIE Fighter. See, like if there's a picture of that. Plus, it'll make us happy because it's TIE Fighter.
Yep.
But because the thing with a character like Thrawn, where he's supposed to be this brilliant tactician, it's not an easy thing for a writer to come up with a sort of an occasion, a situation, set of circumstances where this character can be brilliant, but it not seem contrived. Where you don't feel the writer's hand in it. And like, I thought Zahn did a good job,
solid red eyes.
Okay. There you go.
No.
There's pupils and eyeballs and stuff.
Not really. What do you think about that picture right there? I think that might be just reflection on his eye.
I don't know. I think it's supposed to be some kind of...
Let's pull up another one.
Yeah, look at that one right over there.
This is from... That's from EU Art, I believe.
Yeah, that's his full name. Yeah, so that's definitely like there might be a bit of an eye, of an iris in the pupil, but it's not much.
Yeah,
it's definitely more. We could definitely say that it's more pronounced now. Than it was in that. But the thing is, again, from what I remember in Heir to the Empire, all three books, Zahn did a good job of making Thrawn seem intelligent, but not. Sort of Mary Sue kind of, Gary Stu, in that it's clear. But I don't know. It's just me. Outbound Flight totally felt like, let's make Thrawn look cool.
Yeah.
Situation, it felt to me like there were times when Thrawn basically made a lucky guess. And that could have gone either way. Based on what I know that Thrawn doesn't know, Thrawn got lucky. In some of the deductions that he makes. Not like I'm smarter than Thrawn, but I'm just saying the book gives us information that lets us know that what Thrawn deduces and figures out was actually partially just a lucky guess.
Right.
And so that I think is the trick with a character like him. And so in this case, it was like, oh, look how smart he is because he thought a couple steps ahead. Now, I don't know, maybe in the ranks of the Empire, that makes you a flippin' genius.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's the idea. But it's not like, oh my goodness, look, check out the big brain on Thrawn. No, it was just like, yeah, that's smart. But apparently it's going to be the sort of thing where he's sort of, going to recur And we know, Dave was saying in that interview that, so even when Thrawn's not on screen, you know that he's watching and you know that he's analyzing and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but like I say, I'm okay with bringing Thrawn in. I think when written well, he can be a very interesting character. And I'm glad he's not bringing his little force bubble slugs with him. Mm-hmm. So I'm cool with that. But I won't see General Paleon.
Stop it.
Stop it. Leave it. Drop it. Let's see. Anything else about Thrawn?
No.
Because he didn't do a whole lot.
No, he didn't. It was like in, 2 scenes in the whole thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
The whole hour-long thing?
The whole thing, yep. So, let's see. So they get Thrawn on the case, and so Thrawn kind of knows what's up. There's something, they maybe going to try to attack the base. And so then that sure enough is what our people are doing. They end up seeing some of the Pac-Man TIE fighters again. So the whole point is this is supposed to be a reconnaissance mission. And once they get there, they realize that the Y-Wings are being destroyed, which they're like, well, look, there's only 13 now. They're destroying them right now. Where to go? It's like, well, y'all knew they were destroying them. Y'all said that a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
There's this base where they're taking ships and they're destroying them and reclaiming them. So that's what they're doing. But anyway, so they get there and Ezra's like, well, that's it. We're just going to have to go down and we're going to have to stop them and we're going to have to take these ships. And they're like, that's not our job, dude. That's not what we were brought here to do.
Mm-hmm. Y'all do it.
Yeah, and then he gets...
Or I'll kill you.
Yeah.
I'm Jedi killer.
I'll Jedi kill you. And it's funny. There's this at one point when he's like, so, they put me in command, and I know what the mission objective was, and I'm changing it. So this is what we're going to do. And I think he turns to Sabine. He's like, land the ship or whatever. She kind of looks at him, and I told Josh, putting words in her mouth, she's like, we don't like you. Yeah. We just took a vote. We don't like you.
Yeah.
But there's a point in there, I forgot where it was, when Rex kind of stands up for him. Oh yeah, it's once they've gotten there and they've started the process, but something's gone wrong, and Rex kind of puts his hand on Ezra's shoulder and he's like, not the first problem, won't be the last. Let's get to work or whatever. And you were like,
don't take up for him.
Don't take up for him. And so you've got Hondo showing up again, doing his kind of Hondo thing, which is a nice, of course, call back to the Clone Wars. And so he does kind of what you would expect him to do. He does show up, he does make it there with them, but then he gets out of there. Mm-hmm. And so and then the action on the station. Yeah,
it's good. Something I did notice during the action on the station is that it seems to me that, or at least
some fine things have been laid upon your table.
Yeah.
You only want the ones you can't have.
Shut up. I don't know that song.
That's the Eagles, fool.
I don't know the song.
I don't know that that's the Eagles.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Okay, go ahead.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
The animation has taken a good jump.
Yes.
It seemed to me that they were doing more motion blurry things. Mm-hmm. And motion blurry things in CG cartoons is good.
Yes, because it helps things look better.
Yeah, it helps movement look a little bit more better.
And you also notice, speaking of animation, that Sabine's got some hair physics going on.
Yeah, she does. She does up that budget a little bit.
That's right. No longer is it like the super hairspray. Right. Still hair.
You put a bunch of gel in there.
That's right. Now she can do this and goes a little bit.
Moves a little bit.
And she's got a new outfit and a new hair color.
Got a new outfit and a hair color.
And you approve.
I like the new hair color. I do.
Very good. Right. Yeah. So they're on this
probably my favorite hair color.
Really.
Yeah.
I think season 2 might be my favorite.
The like green and bluey type thing. I think
so, but I'm not
positive. It was cool.
Yeah.
But I like the purple and white thing.
It's a neat look.
I think the purple and white maybe it was done this way on purpose, but it also to me shows that she's aged a little bit. Yeah,
that would be an interesting
she's
notion.
A little bit more mature, like the white of it.
Exactly.
So yeah,
because the purple makes her look older.
Right.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Where it's like she's still young, but she's got the gray of the experience, as it were. But it's still spray paint probably.
Yep.
Yeah, but
I don't know what her real hair color is.
It's probably brunette. It's all boring and stuff. Like, I'm really just a brunette. Maybe she's a redhead and she don't want anybody to hate her because she's a ginger.
Maybe.
Yeah, so she's like, I'm gonna be all colorful. So,
Or maybe she's an albino.
maybe she
And
is.
her color is white.
Maybe. And I'm just going to let it shine. But her skin's kind of too dark to be an albino.
She dyed herself that color.
That's right. And then she ate herself to death. Oh, let's see. But the station...
John F. Kennedy was a white man. They dyed me this color.
That is a good movie.
Yes, it is.
It's a great movie. Bubba Hotep. Oh, so good. Anyway, what's to say? Oh, yeah, the station. I've been trying to make this point for like 5 minutes.
I know.
It's not a very good point. The station reminded me of the station from Duel of the Droids.
Mm-hmm.
When R2 had to beat up Wreck Shop on that other R2 unit.
Yeah.
And so I actually looked it up to see if it's supposed to be the same place, but it's not. But like even when they showed it in the hologram reconnaissance video, I was like, oh, look, that's the same kind of place. So, but yeah, so I thought that was good. Let's see. Do we want to talk about Kanan?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Of course we won't talk about Kanan.
Why
wouldn't we want to talk about Kanan?
Well, how about this?
Do you hate Kanan
Should
now?
we talk about Kanan right now?
Well, who else are we going to talk about?
Well, that's a good point. Let's talk about Kanan. I don't know. We're talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all this is going on, and Kanan is off by himself. Like, they don't mention him for the first little bit of the episode. And when they do, it's to make the point that Ezra wishes Kanan would tell him he's doing a good job every now and then, because he's got a funny way of showing it. And then we find out that Kanan is kind of hanging outside and, being old blind.
I'm ahead of him.
In many ways. But he's afraid of me. Actually, he didn't say that, but in many ways, I'm ahead of him. He's holding me back. And it's worse.
It gets everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's not fair. Yeah, I'm too... What? That's going to bother me. He says that in many ways, I'm ahead of him. But...
something is overly critical.
But he won't let me face the trials. He thinks I'm not ready to face the trials or something, or he won't let me face the trials. Anyway. So we're getting tired. So,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's happening.
Yeah. So Kanan. So the whole thing with Kanan, and again, we only kind of get this in one little thing, is that apparently Kanan has withdrawn himself. Mm-hmm. And then he meets the big monkey, the big Bendu monkey. What are you looking at over there?
There's these when I looked up Thrawn, like because I typed up the Thrawn TIE Fighter, and there's like all these really neat like fan art things popping up. Like there's like there's one where somebody took like every variation of a TIE Fighter ever.
Yeah. And
so they've got them all, like everything that was in TIE Fighter, everything that was in the movies, the EU stuff, like the books, or the what was it, the technical manual?
The children love the books.
What was the name of that book?
Yeah, the Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels.
That was it.
Illustrated by Doug Chang.
Yes, right. It's got that stuff, and then they've got, I'll show it to you when I get it set up as my wallpaper, because it's pretty neat. But there's this really cool picture that's like, it's TIE pilots, and it's like, and there's a bunch of TIE fighters behind them, and the Star Destroyer and stuff, and it's all like really slicked out looking, anime looking.
Ooh, that's neat.
It is sharp.
So basically what you're telling me is I'm over here trying to do a podcast, and you're surfing the internet looking at fan art.
Like old times.
That's right. It's happened a lot on the Clone Cast. You're like, I'm bored with the episode. But see, back in the day, you didn't have a laptop in front of you.
That's
so
true. You
would try to make yourself amused by trying to make me laugh.
That's true.
But now you're like, I don't need to make Nick laugh. I got pictures of TIE fighters.
Yep. I'm trying to make this my freaking wallpaper.
It'd be probably easier if you had a Windows
Well,
machine.
I'm probably too tired that I don't remember where the option is.
It's probably true. It's probably true.
I can just do it the long way around. Keep talking.
Okay.
I can do this and listen to you at the same time.
Sure you can.
Yeah.
No. So
what did you say?
No. So you've got Kanan, and he meets the Bendu, this big monkey thing. And so when he first calls him, we were both like, that almost kind of sounds like a heavily processed Qui-Gon. How cool would that be if it's Qui-Gon? And then it turns out it's not Qui-Gon. is this big guy. So what do you think about, give us your sort of take on the Bendu here, the big monkey that's in between.
How so? Like, is in terms of design, or is in terms of...
The whole thing. Design, if you want to. Voice. Just who the character is.
Okay, design-wise, first thing I thought was, okay, we're going to have a big, maybe possibly Jedi. I didn't know yet what he was. But I was like, we're going to have a big Force user.
Big good guy.
Where have we seen that before?
Yeah.
Snoke.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there's the whole thing that Snoke's probably not actually.
Yeah, he's probably a little
hologram.
guy. How funny would it be if he's like 6 inches tall?
Yeah. But you know, there still is that, in my opinion, that similarity there.
Right.
There's the picture.
Oh, that is nice.
That's pretty sharp.
That is very sweet. Got the interdictor cruiser in there.
Yeah. It looks like a late '90s anime movie.
It does. Yeah, that's a cool wallpaper.
Yeah,
I like that.
Keep that.
That's good
for a little while anyway. But then when he started talking, and he started talking about how basically like he wasn't Jedi and he wasn't Sith, he was the middle.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, okay, I don't really care for that too much.
Yeah.
Like, because one thing that I've always really, really liked about Star Wars, and it's something that we've talked about in all types of fiction that we really, really like. The characters in Star Wars were always clearly defined of this person's good and this person's bad.
Right.
You know, we did have people like Lando, you know, but they weren't Force user people. They weren't. They were supposed to be characters who we just didn't know.
Right, and then eventually they slot somewhere.
Exactly.
Like Orlando eventually slots as a good guy.
Mm-hmm. But with the Jedi, especially the Jedi and the Sith, if you were a Jedi, you're a good guy. If you're a Sith, you're a bad guy.
Right.
The thing, like, what is the middle thing supposed to be? Is like, because even here we see that. Or at least for now, maybe this will change in the next episode. Don't know. It kind of looked like it might go into a different direction there. But it's like, this guy's clearly going to slot good guy.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I'm right in the middle. I'm not Jedi or Sith, but I'm going to help you, good guy.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the idea of there being a gray area in the Force.
Yeah. Now, how would you, with those feelings, sort of, how does that relate to the Mortis trilogy for you? Because you've got Morton, you've got Sophie, and you've got Mark. And if you're not familiar with us, folks, those are the names that we gave to the Force wielders in the Mortis trilogy. So the father is Morton, and the daughter is Sophie, and the brother or the son is Mark.
Right.
And so you had those, and Sophie was the light side, and Mark was the dark side, and Morton was in the middle.
Right.
But we loved the Mortis trilogy.
Oh yeah.
So sort of what sort of is different for you
I think
between
here's because
Bendu and Morton?
It's an actual, it's an actual
person.
Yeah, it's a physical being. Whereas that, to be perfectly honest, we still don't know what that was.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's good that we don't. I think it's good that that's really ambiguous. But it was a representation of the Force as a whole.
Yeah.
Like you had Morton there that was kind of to me it was like a representation of the Force as a whole.
Right.
But he had two sides to him, the good, you know, the Sophie, and the bad Mark.
Yeah.
Like, but he was the overall Force.
And he was the one keeping them in balance.
Check. Yeah. It's like, for that I can understand, but when you're talking, you know, physical beings,
a piece on the chessboard,
right,
as it were.
Yeah, I mean, and now it's in the world. Now you've got good guys, you've got bad guys, you know, on the side of that are Force users, and then you've got in the middle. Now you've got this thing.
Yeah,
like to me, it was just a very simple idea of having clear-cut good guys and clear-cut bad guys, and now you've got this thing in the middle that just, in my opinion, muddies it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because, I mean, I love the Mortis trilogy, but that was one of the things that if you remember, kind of, I was like, we got to talk about this, because even then there was a sense of like, well, okay, if Sophie is kind of like the light side, or, you know, a representation of it, or feeds off of it, and Mark is the dark side, and Morton's in the middle, then is balance trying to balance the light and dark? And when everybody talks about balancing the force, is that what it means? And if that's what that means, are we saying the light is good and the dark is bad, and therefore what we're looking for is a balance of good and bad? And if we're saying that we're looking for a balance of good and bad, are we saying that we're looking for it because that's good? In which case, are we then saying that good is a balance of good and bad? In which case, what do you mean by that?
Right.
To say that, well, what is good? Well, good is defined as something that's a bit of good and a bit of bad in a balanced amount. Well, you can't define the thing as the thing.
Right.
You know? It's like, what is chicken? Well, chicken is a combination of chicken and butter beans. Well, then what's the chicken in your chicken? Then in the recipe that's chicken and butter beans, what's that chicken? Well, that chicken is chicken and butter beans. Well, then what's that chicken? Chicken and butter beans. So it's like, you can't do it. You have an infinite regress of chicken and butter beans.
Right.
In the same way, you can't define good as being a balance of good and evil, because then you have to define good that was a part of your definition. And then you either have an infinite regress of that, or at some point you have to say, wait a minute, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So
what are the butter beans in your chicken and butter beans?
Yeah.
Butter beans and nachos.
That's right. Well, so now it's like an infinite regress of chicken, butter beans, and nachos.
Right.
It's not like the fundamental particles in the universe are like leptons and quarks and this. No, it's chicken and butter beans and nachos. That's the new physics.
Yeah.
We should get a grant to do some research on it. Yeah. Throw some particles around the CERN Big Hadron Collider. Be like, there, chicken and butter beans and nachos. And somebody's going to be like, man, I thought it would have been chicken and waffles. It's like, yes, that would have been a good guess. And I might have liked that better, because chicken and waffles is good. But nope, chicken and butter beans and nachos.
I don't think I've ever had chicken and waffles.
Oh, it's good. I've had it. I've actually only had it once. Liz made it.
Like, I really don't understand
it's waffles.
Is it literally syrup, just waffles and syrup and chicken?
And chicken on the side. But yeah, it's
like fried chicken.
Uh-huh.
Like, but I mean,
so you got the salty of the fried chicken, and you got the sweet of the waffles with the syrup. It's good.
I just don't understand the point in that.
I didn't either until I had it.
Well, I'm not saying it's bad.
Right.
I mean, I would eat it.
Yeah.
Because I do like both of those things.
But I'll eat it.
I just don't understand why.
Maybe that's why you're fat.
I don't understand why it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I really love my chicken and waffles.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like, so it's like...
I really like my hamburgers and fries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's the idea. It's like, these are things that go well together. Fish and chips, you know? Yeah. But since it's not something you're used to, maybe that's kind of the deal. Because it's like, if someone didn't know about hamburgers and french fries, be like, I love my hamburgers and french fries. What? I don't get that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Jamie and Paul probably don't get that either.
But they get the fish and chips.
They get the hamburgers and chips.
That's right. They're the chips. We got the chips.
Yeah.
They're French fries.
Darn it, they're French
fries. And that was the first and second season, not series. And you get on the elevator so you can watch the television.
See, I honestly think they're right. I think you shouldn't call it French fries, really. Yeah. You should call it chips. I think they're right on that.
But then what do we call our chips?
Huh?
The things that we call chips, what do you call those?
I think you still call those chips.
Then we have chips means two different things.
Sure.
And then so when you go somewhere...
You've made chips different ways.
Yeah,
because they're made out of the same thing. They're all made out of potatoes.
True, but then you should just call them potatoes.
But these are fried potatoes.
But their chips are mostly fried potatoes. I mean, American chips are usually fried potatoes.
Okay, crispy fried potatoes?
I want fried potatoes in a stick versus I want fried potatoes in flat little things.
Yeah. I want stick chips or flat chips.
Yeah, there you go, stick chips or flat chips.
Yeah.
We're going to revolutionize the world with this crap.
Yeah.
Let it be known. Yeah. So how the poop did we get off on that?
the Mortis trilogy.
Yes, exactly. I knew it was something that I thought was actually interesting.
You screwed it up with your chips.
No, that was good too. That's old school clone cast, running off on a tangent about food or something. But anyway, so I was like, what do you do with that? Because that was sort of one of the first instances where, from a George Lucas sourced thing, you sort of had this discussion of something that's beyond the good and the evil. And being somewhat familiar, not overly familiar, but somewhat familiar with sort of Eastern religions, as we said earlier, that notion of true enlightenment is kind of going beyond the distinctions that we think that we see. Like in Buddhism, it's partially getting past fighting against pain or discomfort, and really seeing distinctions as being valid. Like you get past that, and you see that all distinctions are illusions, and that everything is sort of one.
Yeah. And
so that would include presumably a distinction between good and evil. And yet, again, from what I know, you still have some kind of morality in Buddhism.
Right.
But then you have this idea that it's all sort of a distinction that's meaningless. And so I've wrestled with that too. I'm like, well, how can you say that there are no distinctions, that everything is one and we're all part of the universe and the universe is all part of us and blah, 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 but then say that this thing is good and this thing is bad? Mm-hmm. Unless it's just the hypothetical imperative, as opposed to categorical imperative. This is a little Immanuel Kant for you for a second, folks. A hypothetical imperative is if you want outcome X, then you ought to do Y.
Right.
It's not saying that you ought to want outcome X. It's just saying if you want outcome X, you ought to do action Y. So if you want to see the entire movie, you ought to get there before it starts. But whether or not you want to see the entire movie, there's no imperative there. That's a hypothetical imperative. It's hypothetical if, then, a categorical imperative is you ought to value this, period. And so it's like, well, how can you have any kind of a categorical imperative if all distinctions are sort of meaningless and everything just is? It's kind of the Zeno's paradox kind of stuff, and it's just, it just is. And so here's my point. Star Wars in the Mortis trilogy, and now here with the Bendu, kind of gives us characters that give lip service to, I'm beyond good and evil and light and dark. It's something that subsumes those and goes beyond those. Mm-hmm. Those characters give lip service to that, but in the end, it seems like they're either Sith and lying. Mm-hmm. Good is just a point of view, Anakin. Right. They're either Sith and they're lying, or they end up being good guys.
Yeah.
Morton clearly doesn't want death and destruction and darkness to fall upon the galaxy.
Right.
Bendu seems to be wanting to help old Kanan out, and Kanan's a Jedi, and so it seems like Bendu's being a good guy. So it's like, what is it? Because again, this whole notion of let's kind of go beyond good and evil and would kind of fit with sort of some of the Eastern influences that George brought to Star Wars. But then Star Wars has always been a morality play about good versus evil. And so that flies in the face of it. Right. And so it's almost like you're trying to take two incompatible concepts. I was going to say conceptual.
Emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yes. Well, I was going to say conceptual, and I got most of the way through concept.
And then you fell asleep.
No, I realized I don't want to say conceptual. I want to say concept. But crap, I've already said concept. And so I can either go shul and use the word I don't want to use or pronounce it wrong. I guess I'll just do, oh crap, I've stopped talking. I guess I just decided to pronounce it wrong. And now Josh is correcting me. But it's like you're taking two concepts that aren't really compatible and trying to mush them together. And so it doesn't quite work. So, maybe I'm just dense and I don't kind of get the connection. But so that's my thing. Whenever Star Wars sort of ventures into that, it's like, look, you either have good and evil or you don't. Mm-hmm. You either have ultimate realities beyond good and evil, in which case good and evil are illusions, in which case who cares who's good and evil? Mm-hmm. In which case, I shouldn't care whether the good guys win or the bad guys lose, the bad guys win, the good guys lose, because there's no distinction anyway.
Right.
Or you do have real good and real evil, and this whole talk of the beyond it is not, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
So that's kind of the philosopher in me is like, when it kind of gets that way.
Yeah.
I thought the character was interesting. And it felt to me a little bit like something George would have done in terms of sort of the unexpected and the creatures. And it felt more just trilogy-ish a little bit.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And the fact, you may not know this, folks, the voice of the Bendu, because I don't know if Bendu is his name or like...
What he is.
Yeah, so do you call him the Bendu or Bendu? But either way, of course, you know...
And yes, before we get emails, we know where the Bendu came from. We know where the Bendu name came from.
That's right. We know the Jedi Bendu. We know it came from earlier drafts.
Get it?
We're cool too. It's true. but regardless of whether it's Bendu or the Bendu, he's voiced by Tom Baker, who played one of the doctors in Doctor Who. The doctor that, for many of us in America, is the first doctor that we knew about. Because public broadcasting stations often would show Doctor Who episodes. At least around here, it was Saturday nights. It was like Red Dwarf, Are You Being Served? And then Doctor Who. And I would watch Red Dwarf. I wouldn't care about Are You Being Served? And then I'd turn back in for Doctor Who. But anyway, so...
What is Are You Being Served?
It was a show... It was a British block of shows, so this is also a British show. It was about like a hotel, I think. It probably was kind of funny. Like, it...
Oh, wait, I remember
vaguely remember, like, little bits that as I now look back on it, because I was, this was when I was a kid. I was like, now I think I might have found something.
I can see that in my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like the guy with the big ears.
Yeah, and like I remember the...
He died recently, I think.
Really?
The actor, Nicholas somebody. I always thought it was cool his name was Nicholas.
Well, yeah, I remember, as I always remember, this is just what's sticking out. Like, I remember a man and a woman talking in a very, very, very drably colored room in that hotel or wherever they were at, and they were next to a fern.
Interesting.
But I can see that in my head.
Your mental image. Yeah.
And they were talking. Right. They were talking British.
Yep, that's what they did on that show. Yep, exactly. So, like I said, I would watch Red Dwarf, Lister and Rimmer and Crichton eventually, and the cat and what was the name of the Holly? The name of the computer, and Kachansky. That Lister was in love with. Anyway, so and then this is just to impress Jamie and Paul. Hey, I know about one of your shows. But I hope it does that. No, but then anyway, so Doctor Who, and it was the Doctor Who. No, Doctor Who.
Who?
That's right. Exactly. You got it. Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
That's right. Did he come on after Are You Being Served? But he was the one with the scarf, the crazy costume, like the crazy kind of loud wardrobe and the scarves. Interestingly enough, apparently when Tom Baker was playing the Doctor, because he was one of these guys that cared about kids' imaginations, he would not go out in public, or at least not for public appearances, not dressed as the Doctor, so that kids could still kind of keep the imagination going to being the Doctor. Yeah. And so, and I liked that era of Doctor Who. And so I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. But yeah, so Bendu kind of helps Kanan out of this funk that we didn't know that he was in. As we said earlier, where he apparently had withdrawn himself from everybody, but we didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because it happened off screen. And what did you say about the kind of bringing Kanan back in terms of how it happened within the story and how quickly it happened?
Oh, like that seemed to me something that was. I've said that a lot today. That seemed to me.
Seems to me.
Seems to me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think.
Here's what I think.
That was a little bit too. Everything was resolved too fast.
Yeah,
like there was this huge thing that, or well, I wouldn't say huge, but it was Kanan talks about how people have. See, I'm like so tired that I can't remember if I've actually talked about this before.
Well, you talk about it, and I'll try to remember if you talked about it before.
This is rough.
Yeah, I've been doing it a lot.
Yeah. Did we talk about the thing about I didn't know if the see, I can't even freaking talk at all. Give me a minute.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go to sleep.
I'll wake up in a minute, I'll finish. It's like, I don't think you had this experience, but for me, it's like my experience working on papers in school. Because you probably did a better job of this than I did, of waiting to the last minute. Like, I remember sometimes I would wait to the last minute to write a paper, and so I'd be working on it the night before. Like, maybe I'd done some research ahead of time, maybe I'd made a few notes, and I kind of got an idea of some of my paragraphs, but, so I'm sitting there writing on it, I'm like, I'm tired, it's like 1 o'clock in the middle of the night, I'm like, I'm gonna sleep for 10 minutes, and I'll wake up, and I'll write a little bit more. And a lot of times that didn't happen, but, like, what I'd have to end up doing, I'd get to a certain point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to go to sleep. Maybe this would be like 10 or 10:30. I'm like, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to set my alarm for 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to get up and I'm going to finish it.
Did you do it?
Yeah, usually. Not always. There were some, here's the deal. There were some classes where I knew I could turn a paper in a day or two late and not get penalized for it. And then there were many classes where I knew that I would get penalized. And so, yeah.
No, I was always pretty good about that. Yeah. Like, in fact, I was pretty good about that with like, pretty much any assignment that I ever had. Yeah. Like, and surprisingly, because I am normally not this type of person.
Yeah.
But like for example, when I wrote the
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
No, the paper for you.
Yeah.
I had to write 2 papers for you, and one of them that I wrote was the one where I used Picard and Data as characters in my in my paper. That one, like, I think I started writing that, I think that night, after you assigned it.
Yeah.
I think.
I remember you telling me something like that. It's like, I started on that one pretty early in the semester.
Yeah. And then, like, I think it was the last paper I did for my literature class, my second to last semester. Like, I had, like, it was one of those where it's like, it's going to be a long paper and you're going to need a lot of time to prepare. And so, I'm going to go ahead and give you this assignment, be working on it and stuff like that. Well, the way our teacher did, he would ask for updates about the paper. Like, so how are you doing with it? You got any questions and everything. And he would go around the room to everybody and ask, how are you doing with your paper? You know what you're doing and everything. And like, this was like, I think we still had like 2 weeks to go till we had to turn it in. And he gets to me and he's like, so what are you doing your paper on? I was like, man, I'm already done with mine.
Yeah, boom.
And like the whole class, I know at that point just hated my guts.
Like, what a loser.
And he and like Mr. Merrill, he was like, basically, are you like for real? I was like, no, really, I'm done with it. I just gotta turn it into you. And he's like, well, just wait till just regular.
Slow down there, Slick.
Yeah, just turn it in when it's time. But yeah, I actually, because that was the thing though, I like doing papers, so I kind of jumped on them.
Once I got in the rhythm, I liked it, but it was like this.
It was the getting started.
It was the getting started, and which has been the same problem with me writing, like fiction writing recently. It's like getting started.
Well, it was one of those things where, like, I kind of viewed it as a creative type thing. Mm-hmm. And they were giving me free reign to be creative.
So here we go.
So it's like, okay, I've immediately got an idea.
Yeah.
So I'll just go with that. And I got an A on every paper I ever wrote except for 2.
That's pretty good.
Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. 3. I got 2 B's in my second English class, and I got a C in my history class because when I was writing the paper, I wrote all the papers. Like, I think it had to be 2 pages, but I ended up doing something like 5. And to shorten my time with formatting and stuff, I would just delete the text out of the one the last paper I had done.
Yeah.
And I could just do that, and I could also have my works cited page on the end. I forgot to change the works cited page at the end of the last paper and kept the first paper's works cited.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that was a big no.
Right.
So I got a C on that paper.
These works weren't cited in this paper, so. But it wasn't because of the quality of your writing.
Yeah, which is probably why I got a C.
Right, as opposed to like a big F or something.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so see, I knew you probably had not had that same experience. But I remember sitting at my computer in the sort of common room, because most of my years at Alabama, That's where I went to school, University of Alabama. Roll Tide. See, and I'd be all like Roll Tide and yay Alabama, and not just because I go, live around here, but because I actually went to school there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make me better than other people. It just kind of gives me a different kind of connection.
Kind of gives me a better edge on people.
I might be better than them, but I'm a little better. No. But anyway, so most of my time there, I was in a dorm situation where we would have one of the suites at the end of the hall. So it'd be dorm room with a living room and then another dorm room. Mm-hmm. And the computer was always out in the living room. And it was always my computer. But I'd usually let the other guys use it some. So I'd be sitting at that desk in the middle of the night, with just the light on, or the light of the computer screen, working on a paper. Horrible. So Kanan.
So what was your question about Kanan? About Kanan coming back. Now, did you mean Kanan coming back? Like, at least as far as, did you mean his little arc there getting resolved? Like his little arc for the episode getting resolved?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that happened too quick.
Yeah.
It was just everything that we were supposed to know about that was off screen.
Right.
He says, how did he put it? What was the line?
Yeah, and we did mention this earlier, but
we did mention it.
Yeah.
See, then why'd you ask me again?
Well, I won't know because I
already told you I didn't like it.
You hadn't made the point about it being too quick. We made the point about it happening off screen.
That's right. Okay, yeah,
but not the point about it being too quick.
It happened too quick because everything the body of the whole problem is off screen.
Yeah. So if you're gonna have if the body of the problem is gonna be off screen, then at least have the solution to the problem take longer.
Right.
So that in the
so we can learn about the body of the problem.
Right. So you can kind of get a feel for the problem and an emotional feel so that the resolution is satisfying.
Yeah.
By having a protracted period of time where he deals with it.
Yeah. You're going to have to heavily edit that part.
Oh, lots.
I mean, good gracious.
Lots of this is going to have to be heavily edited. There's lots of pause moments, and I have to go back and probably re-record some lines because I'm slurring them very badly. I think they're drunk. I think they might be intoxicated tonight.
I did have that root beer.
You did have that root beer.
two bottles.
2 bottles of root beer. That's right. Oh, not like 2-liter bottles, but bottles.
Bottles. Man bottles.
Bottles. Mans and bottles and bottles of mans and mans and bottles. It's like this is going to have to be edited because it's stupid. But don't worry, folks. We're almost finished.
Thank goodness.
That's right. And then I'm going to crawl in a bed and sleep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Kanan. But I will say this. I like the beard look.
Yeah.
The beard look is tight.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that he's still blonde.
Yeah. And basically, the Bindu said that ain't going to change.
Coming back. Yeah.
You can be blind forever.
Because even though it feels like there might be a reset button hit on Ezra and the dark side at the end of the episode, maybe not though, given the preview for the next episode. With what's his face coming back, that guy. So jury's still out on that, but that's a possibility, and these things kind of do happen sometimes. But the fact is, they have not reset that. He's still blonde, but he's moving past that. He's going to sort of see with the Force and his senses and all of that. So, well, yeah, man, come on, dude. And it's almost a little surprising that Kanan did that because it's like, dude, you're a Jedi. You know that you've got senses and this, that, and the other. So it was, but I can also understand what he's been through, what has happened, both in his younger days and recently might lead him to be more likely to get discouraged. But so Bindu, teaches him to not be afraid of the spiders and to not be afraid of people anymore because he disconnected himself and all of that. Bindu keeps the holocron, and so Kanan gets back.
The Satan pyramid.
That's right, the devil pyramid.
Yeah.
Yep. And so Kanan goes with them to rescue our good guys. So we got to mention this really quickly.
Yeah.
And we thought it apparently about the same time. I said something to you about it, and you're like, I was just thinking that. As they're getting the Y-Wings. And I turned to Josh and I said, wonder if some of them are going to end up on the, fighting the Death Star. And then at the end of the episode, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
Because Hera specifically mentions they're going to give them to Dodonna's unit.
I thought that by seeing the markings on them. When they were yellow.
It's like, that's them right there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yep. And she said we're gonna send them to the Dino Squad unit. I'm like, yep. And they all gonna get destroyed, but one.
But one.
One piddly little Y-wing.
Yeah.
Roger, leader, start target. You know, them Y-wing bomber guys with their Y-wing bomber talk. It's like, I could told you that ain't gonna work going through the trench with that slow Y-wing.
Do you remember the fact that you had the toy, like a knockoff toy?
I do remember that Y-wing knockoff toy.
So like the front came off?
Uh-huh. The front fell off. That's what you know, that doesn't usually happen. What doesn't happen? Well, the front doesn't fall off for starters. Yeah, but there's a danger to the environment. Oh, no, it's past the environment. Yeah, it's in a different environment. No, it's we've towed it out past the environment. There's no environment out there. What's out there? Fish and
20,000 pounds of crude oil.
20,000 crude oil.
Tumbled into the sea.
What's the thing he says? No, it's not. I want to make that clear. It's one of those kind of like aside comments. It's like, that's for certain. No,
yeah.
You can be certain about that, or hardly. I forgot what it was now. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, everybody should go look up the front fell off.
Yeah, front fell off.
Highbrow humor.
Clark and Dahl, British guys, good stuff. Actually, they're not British. They're Australian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just sound British.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably an insult to British people everywhere.
Yeah, probably so. Sorry. They're going to throw their fish and chips at us.
All their series on DVD.
That's right. It's like, look, I got Red Dwarf Series 1, Series 2. What do you think of that? I say it's cold out here. All alone, more or less. Anyway, but yeah, so let's talk about the... What is
I was just thinking about looking at you and being like, I don't want to talk anymore. I want to go sleep.
Well, we're almost done. So the Y-Wings are going to go and they're going to get destroyed. So Ezra ends up at the bottom of the station. There's lightning coming around.
Yeah.
But Ezra is saved by Kanan. They kind of make up. The holocron, the devil pyramid.
And like before that happens, before Kanan shows up, Ezra whines about.
Yeah, he does.
Like, Kanan, save me!
Yeah,
Where are you?
Yeah,
I mean, I was big bad, teetering on the dark side guy.
But now I'm a wimpy wimp.
I'm scared.
Yeah. And we forgot to mention the fact that Kanan found out that Ezra was using the holocron.
Yes,
like he comes in and they're kind of talking.
And I thought it would have been more of a like. I thought Kanan would be maybe a little bit more mad about it.
Yeah, not just you shouldn't be checking that out, man. That's dangerous. But like, we must have serious talk. You're grounded.
Yeah.
You have done evil. I might have to kill you.
I will fight you right now.
Yeah. Just that'd be like,
I will show you the power of the light side. When I'm just yo butt.
And then Ezra would be like, are you going to kill me? And then Kanan would be like, I'd very much like to.
Yeah.
That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
When you find out. But yeah, so he was a little bit more low key about it. Not low key.
Not low key.
But low key. Yeah.
Brother of Thor.
The brother of Thor. But he's blue underneath. He's like a Smurf.
Yep.
So let's say spoiler for Thor.
If you ain't seen Thor yet. He's blue.
He's blue.
If all you've ever seen is the Avengers and you ain't seen Thor,
you won't know this.
Ooh-wee.
You've missed it. He's blue. Da ba dee da ba da. You know that song. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah. So Kanan had known about it. So when they reunite, he's like, don't worry, I've got the thing is in safe hands. It's away. Because like at one point, Kanan's like, or Ezra's like, so what'd you do with it? Kanan should be like, boy. Don't you ask about that?
Yeah.
But so do you think that Ezra's temptation with the dark side is over? I know you don't want it to be over, but do you think it's over? I agree with you. I think it will show up again.
No.
Again, personally, because I think the strongest thing for them to do story wise is have him turn evil.
Yeah, and again, it's like we'd seen little inklings of that all through the second season. The season finale was probably the strongest we've seen. We've seen the dark side come out of Ezra. But then to have it resolved in the first episode of the next season
would not be good.
Nah.
Yeah.
Because I mean that has been kind of an arc that started at the very beginning of the series.
Yep.
And and then into series 2. And
no, you Brit. No, you're wrong. It's worse.
I just now realized, and maybe if you played this back, maybe I wouldn't think so. But you know how you talk about how when you close your eyes, you can actually think a little bit better. Uh-huh. I did that, and it worked.
Doesn't it?
I'm doing it right now, and it's kind of working.
It takes extraneous stimuli out.
Yeah, because you're not seeing all this stuff.
Yeah, and you're not having to process that, so it's like you can use more cycles and teraflops.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Like maybe I should start doing this like wherever I go. And
maybe
just shut
we
my
should
eyes
be blind.
And I'd be smarter.
Yeah. You're like, I'm gonna go.
Speaking of Canaan,
I'm gonna go for a job interview. Wait, hold on. Let me close my eyes. Okay, let's go. Now, what are you doing? I'm being smart. It helps me. Of course, right now too, I'm tired. I've got sinus stuff. My equilibrium is messing with me, and so it's easier when my eyes are closed. But even if that wasn't going on, I'd be closing them right now.
Yeah,
because like I could talk better.
Yeah.
Because watch, okay, so here I am, and I'm talking, and we could be talking about meta-ethics, we could be talking about objective moral value versus subjective moral value, and then I open my eyes, and I'm like, so, and we could talk about, and then be like, what's going on there? I don't remember. The corn biscuits. All right. That's Interstellar, baby. Need some corn biscuits. They say it's the last shipment, or it's the last harvest of okra ever. And no one cares because no one likes okra.
I like okra.
Actually, I like okra if it's fixed right.
If it's crispy.
Yeah, if it's slimy, get that away from me.
Yeah.
And you can fry okra and still make it slimy. And you ought not do that.
The lunchroom at school was real bad about that.
So I wish someone had a video of us right now, because we're both closing our eyes. Man, I peeked them open for a minute to see that you've still got ears closed. You're kind of rocking back and forth.
I'm like Ray Charles.
That's right. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, it's Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder doing a podcast about the rebels. But yes.
I shall real more.
Georgia. Sam Bacon never returned home. So, but what was I talking about before I interrupted, or you were talking about before I interrupted to talk about how we're blind?
Well, see, now the closing your eyes does not help memory.
No, I still can't remember a thing.
Just helps you stay on
corn
track.
Biscuits, all right. Okra.
Yeah,
that's
okra.
Okay. Go ahead, because you were gonna say something about like the lunchroom.
Yeah,
I remember you saying the lunchroom.
Yeah, the lunchroom just makes.
We're like detectives trying to figure out what we were talking about. I remember something about a lunchroom. Does that ring any bells? Keep drawing up in here. I have an idea, guys.
The lunchroom at school, they fried their bacon. No, not their bacon.
Not their bacon. Crap.
Their okra.
Yeah.
They fried their okra, and it was.
I'll fry your okra.
And it was not crispy, like and sometimes the crust on the outside may be crispy.
It lies to you. Yeah, you're like, okay, that is.
And then you bite into it, it's like there's a snail in here.
Yeah, exactly. You look at it, you kind of feel it with your fingers, like, it's going to be some good okra. And then you're like, no, that's not. Now, how do you feel about squash?
It's like it busts in your mouth.
Because, like, squash, I need squash to not be slimy.
I don't eat squash, no how.
That also closing your eyes does not cease to make us Southern. I don't eat squash, no how.
No.
What about...
I ain't no means tired.
Not at all. How do you feel about okra?
Is that what she said?
Who?
Didn't Hillary Clinton say something like that?
By no means tired? Yeah.
That's what it is.
How do you feel about okra? I mean, not okra. I just asked about okra. How do you feel about... I forgot what it was. Oh, yeah. Broccoli.
I like broccoli.
Yeah.
I like broccoli and cheese.
Yeah. How do you feel about cauliflower?
I like cauliflower.
Yeah, I'm more a broccoli fan than cauliflower, but I can go with both. But I like broccoli. I think that people were being mean to him just because he had a holodeck addiction. Oh. Dwight Schultz. Mr. Barkley.
That's number one.
That's number two.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Although we've talked about Star Trek already.
We have, but
I don't think we made a reference.
Yeah, it wasn't in the
except the
context.
Cybok Shakari. I think
that's true. So this
started,
is number 3.
Yeah, but number 2 was way back there in the middle, and now it's all confusing. It's non-temporal.
Yep.
It's non-linear. Baseball. Shut up, Ben Sisko.
Baseball.
It's every pitch. It's and death to the opposition.
The only problem with closing your eyes like this is you can't tell if you're like in front of the mic or not.
That's true. That's right.
And with me moving like this,
it doesn't
help.
Funny because it's like when I get listen to it back, to edit it, it's gonna be like, and so here I am, I'm Josh Shaw, and I'm doing this number, and it's gonna be back and forth. But that's why you kind of have to open them up every now and then.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times I'll open up when I'm not talking, but then so. I think the sensible thing for us to do is to shut up and end this right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we ain't got nothing else to talk about.
Is that because the front fell off?
The front fell off.
Yeah, alrighty then. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll maybe we'll think of other things that we could have talked about in this episode, but we didn't. But I think we covered things pretty well. It was good to hear Kevin Conner music again.
Well, I mean, again, it goes back to the very beginning of the episode when I said, and what I said is true, is that this episode was not spectacular.
Yeah, it was good, but it wasn't wow.
Yeah, it wasn't what I would expect from a season premiere.
Yeah,
I expect boom, and I got pff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Who wants pff?
No, I want pff. I mean,
boom, all the time.
All the time. Every day. I mean, how did Chopper get better? Because the thing like froze up Chopper, and the next thing we see is like Chopper getting the thing. He's like, okay.
That's a good point. I didn't think about
Maybe
that.
I missed it, but I don't know. So,
yeah.
Well then, let's see. So we're gonna go to our normal routine of covering 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We only covered 1 episode this time, but really it was 2 because it was 2 episodes. So really we covered 2 episodes.
So haha, internet.
Circuit City.
Sucking on down to Circuit City.
So you will hear from us again after 2 more episodes of the Rebels has aired.
And judging by whether this was your first episode or not, you may not want to come back.
Be like, I don't think this was insightful.
Not for me.
They were dumb most of the time, and then they started talking about like moral philosophy, and then they were dumb again. It was one extreme or the other. It's like, you're hot and you're cold, you're this and you're those.
Yeah.
And then they taught something about Metallica not liking Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
It was all very confusing. Apparently that one guy's got no legs and the other one's a fatty.
The one's fat.
They're both Southern. I don't think I like that. So, but we do hope you come back.
Yep.
And if you're Ben Burt, then we talk about you.
Yep.
At the end of every episode.
Everyone.
Hope you're having a good time.
Yeah.
I think they rock back and forth because once you close your eyes long enough, you're just like, I want to rock.
Yeah. I want to rock.
Oh, goodness. This is how you do radio internet. Right here. This is how it's done.
Oh, everything's funny when you're sleepy.
That's right. Oh, yeah. So maybe that's it. You should listen to us when you're sleepy.
Yeah, you'll find this good.
You'll be amused. You'll fall right asleep because you're sleepy, but still, you'll be like, I like that for like the 3 minutes I heard before I fell asleep.
Right.
They woke me up in the middle of the night, like I'd gotten to sleep, and then suddenly they were like singing some like punk song and laughing. It was horrible. Yeah.
But so yeah, we hope that we hope the season improves from here. Again, not that this was bad, but hopefully we'll get more boom.
Hey, we're going to get one of my favorite characters, Wedge Antilles,
That's right.
in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
So that should be pretty impressive and exciting.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I'm excited about that.
I am
We're
too.
going to see Because, you had said said that you were reading, I guess it was in that interview about Wedge was good, or at least his origin was
yeah, it was, yeah.
Is that where we're going to meet him?
I think so, like he's defecting or something like that. Be kind of interesting.
That's interesting, yeah, that because you always think that, well, by episode 4, Wedge was like maybe one of the, he was like in there for a while.
Yeah, but he might, apparently not. Apparently he was kind of new to it. Yeah. Yep. That interview, by the way, also, the guy asks Dave Filoni about X-Wings. Mm-hmm. And Dave again, it's another kind of schizophrenic answer because he's like, that would be kind of a big deal, but, we don't necessarily want to bring them in, and because I want it to feel like episode 4 is still episode 4, and there are new things that are happening with that, but he said, but if X-Wings did show up, and he talks about some movie that he saw as a kid, and there was like this big moment, and he's like, and maybe I'm giving too much away, but it would be like that moment. So it's like the first part of his answer, he's like, no, and then by the end of it, he's like, yeah, and it'll be a big deal.
Yeah.
But again, maybe it's one of those, so which part do you want to take as accurate? See, maybe he's just trying to mind mess with us. But anyway, he makes the point that, the X-Wings would be kind of a big deal and a new thing. So I would like for us to see them, but I would be okay if maybe we don't see them in this, we see them in Rogue One.
I think we're gonna see them.
Yeah, because we know we're gonna see them in Rogue One. What I mean is, we first see them in Rogue One. Like maybe they just get them, but I would rather them get them in Rebels, so that they're already kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to Rogue One in Episode 4.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
But I just, like I say, that part of me that's all about the Wedge Antilles and the Rogue Squadron and the X-Wings and the TIE Fighters is excited about that.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it then.
Yeah.
So thanks, folks, for listening, and we hope you'll stick with us for the season, and
we hope we won't be as sleepy when we do the episode.
Yeah. Well,
this was a weird thing.
Yes.
Because like this normally, I mean, we have stayed up till like 2:00 in the morning doing a podcast, but for some reason, this one, I don't know if you and I both hit the same level of tired.
Yeah, it's like we both hit the wall.
Yeah, and we hit it hard, man.
Because it's not even midnight, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I feel when I've been up almost all night, and like my equilibrium and my stomach are kind of messing with me.
Yeah,
just from being so sleepy. That's kind of how I feel. Plus, just being mentally like
drained.
Yeah. So
I feel like all my I have a smart meter in my head, and this is it's a thing that every, like, depending on how much sleep I get, that meter fills up to 100,
right,
and then slowly throughout the day
it goes down.
It starts going down.
Yeah.
Well, today for some reason, because I was telling Nick about this before we started the podcast this evening.
Not way back in the day.
Not way back in the day. But last night, I got to bed at a reasonable hour. And I woke up this morning at 10 o'clock. So I probably overslept some, maybe a little bit.
Right.
But it's still actually, at least as far as a weekend goes, it's usually a whole lot less than I normally sleep.
Yeah.
Usually, a lot of times I won't get up till like around 12 on a weekend.
Yeah.
But, anyway, I got all that sleep and everything, and have still. I've been pretty tired all day.
Yeah, same here.
And so I think last night when I slept for 10 hours, I think my smart meter only filled up to about like maybe 50.
Yeah, so like you woke up at a 50, and so now you're running on fumes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I've just recently have not been able. Well, the thing is, Nigel gets up in the middle of the night a lot of the times and gets in bed with us, and so that kind of wakes us up. And then he kind of woolers and wallers, and then he usually wakes up at like 5:30 in the morning, and so a lot of times Liz has given up the fight and has gone into the living room and is on the couch. So he'll get up at 5:30 and go in there with her, and then they'll get up, and then I'm hearing them talk and, play and have breakfast and what have you. And I'm still sleeping, but I'm not sleeping soundly.
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't remember when I got 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep.
Wow.
You know, where I actually
been that long, huh?
Well, I take it back. I probably do. It was probably camp, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Just because Nigel was out. I mean, he was, and there was the fans going, and so I was able to sleep more soundly.
Yeah.
But it just, even if it's just me waking up to toss and turn some. So I don't know. I think that's got to be part of it. Just getting old.
Yep.
But I was listening to this podcast, and at the end of it, they just got all depressed about how old they are and how they need more sleep.
I'm like there's people yelling at the podcast.
Just shut up!
Well, just go to sleep, you morons, and don't put out an episode if you're sleepy.
Well, we've never bought into that theory.
No, not ever.
That's right. Work. That's silly talk.
We record. See, we're like entertainers. I mean, the show must go on.
Must go on. That's right.
Even though we have recorded episodes and deleted them and then done it again.
Garbage, yeah.
But this is not going to be.
This is not going to be one of those. No.
We're going to stick to it. It's our stick-to-itiveness
yes.
that has got us this far.
It's funny. I want to say the first episode of the Rebels cast that we did once we became the sole hosts.
Right.
It was a Sunday afternoon. Because there were a couple episodes that we did that I came over and we did it before worship.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I was listening to one of those the other day, just randomly, and I'm pretty sure it was one of those. I'm like, yeah, I think that's why we sound more awake. Because we did, we sounded more awake. I was enunciating things better. It was just,
yeah.
So, we are fools.
Yeah.
But we are fools for you.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, well.
Peace out.
Peace out, Holmes. Dave will let you know how you can contact us and all that fun stuff. So I guess if that's all, then as we said, thanks for listening. Please keep it up. Please email us. We'd love to hear from you. And I guess if that's all there is for now, then until next time, I'm Nick Weymouth.
And I'm Josh Shaw.
And we will see you in the future.
Let's go sleep.
Good night.
Rebels Cast is not endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited or Disney and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Star Wars and all Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective copyright or trademark holders. You can email Nick and Josh at rebelscastsmg@gmail.com, join the Rebels Cast Facebook page, visit their website at innerdorkdom.com, and visit southgatemediagroup.com to enjoy podcast content covering the entire spectrum of entertainment. For everyone at Rebels Cast, I'm Microsoft David. Thanks for listening and may the Force be with you. End of line.
Goodness, I can't stop hitting this MacBook. I just can't stop it.